We addicted to fast cars, bad bras, late nights, last calls, alcohol, bad just scrolling through the phone log, hit 'em up, all my pick 'em up. We bout to have a time tonight. Sure you keep that burner tuck, cause niggas like you creep low. Say motherfuck the P.O. and the judge. But if they come with us, just know it's love. I'm saying just because. Yeah. Cause we been coming from welfare, medical, healthcare, living in the hood is hell here, hell yeah. I'm saying just because. Love. I watched my mama and my daddy struggle with the bottle. I watched my cousins and my brother banged out full throttle. Driver's seat, we bout that action, we ain't sitting idle. And even when they melanated, still a rival. I ain't about killing, but I'm about survival. And we be praying to the Lord, but still ain't read the Bible. And put that pedal to the floor with a savage title. Hope we don't crash out. Shawty out, seeking attention, she got that out.
What is freezing? Does he know you using that?
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Unapologetic with Mandrell and Shushu. This is my younger sister, Shushu. I'm Mandrell. Hello, everyone.
Hello, everyone. I'm sorry. I was trying to mute because it's this truck going by outside and it's just making a lot of noise. And I was just yeah.
Shoo, tell New York to be polite.
Try.
It's not gonna work.
At all.
It's not. You can't tell New York to be polite. They're not gonna listen.
At all.
They're gonna curse you out is what they're gonna do.
Exactly.
You see why I love that city so much?
Right.
Like, Coming to America was not joking, everybody. When Akeem was out on the balcony, hello, my American neighbors. Good morning. F you. Yeah, right. They weren't kidding. That happens. That happens. Yes. What's up, Dutton Nakumbi? He's in the chat. Who else is in the chat? We got 6 people in the chat.
It's cool. Oh, Dino, was it Dino Dinosaur?
Mm-hmm.
How you doing? What's going on? I know he did on DL's and DL's chat. Okay.
DL Saint, yeah.
That's what's up. Thank you for coming over and watching our show. We appreciate you.
I like DL Saint. I think everybody should really start tuning into that brother's content.
Yeah.
It's really good. So, how's your week?
So far so good. Nothing too crazy. I mean, it is what it is. It's going, I guess. Yeah.
Gotcha. So, everybody, thanks for coming. Who's in the chat? Anyway, tonight's topic. Now, the topic is something that I brought up to you.
Mm-hmm.
But the title is something you came up with.
Yeah.
The title is something you came up with, but I brought up the topic. Okay.
Yeah, because it definitely it sounds more interesting.
It does, and it's a point that that's brought up in some of the videos that we brought up that we're going to play for you guys tonight. Hope you guys enjoy them. The thing is, what inspired this is the fact that the conversations we've been having on YouTube, that everyone's been having on all these different platforms, it's not a new conversation. You and I proved that in a previous episode that we've done, yes?
Yes, we have.
And here we have yet another conversation, but this one was much more interesting to me. Fascinating. Because when I watched this video for the first time, I said, that's it. There it is. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to see if you see the same thing I saw when watching this video.
Okay, first, I'll just give a brief description of what's going on.
Oh, a brief description? Okay, cool. Well, it's 2 people having a conversation. All right, 2 black people, a black man and a black woman. The black man he's James Baldwin.
Mm-hmm.
Woman is who?
Nikki Giovanni.
Nikki Giovanni. That's right. Two very, very well accomplished authors and well learned people, insightful people. You know what I'm saying? So.
Oh, and just a side note, I was actually in a featured in a documentary about James Baldwin. Fun fact. It's called I Am Not Your Negro. If y'all go and check it out. It's on, yeah, I think it's on Netflix. So,
you're featured on that?
Yeah, I am.
Okay. It's called what now?
I Am Not Your Negro.
And where can people find, the video, this movie that you're featured in, documentary that you're featured in, people want to watch it.
Yeah, it's about James Baldwin. It's on Netflix and it's also on Amazon Prime, I know.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right, so everyone check that out.
Because it really is good.
So everyone check that out. All right. Last time we did an episode like this, because here's what was because people aren't listening to one another. You know what I'm saying?
Right, yeah.
People aren't thinking in a manner that promotes thought towards solutions, right? People aren't thinking solutions based. So was it last week we did this exercise to try to get people to think solutions based?
Yeah.
Nobody did it though, did they?
Well, technically everybody did. I guess we just weren't really thinking of in terms of like, hey, you already coming up with solutions.
Right. But the first thing people do is go to the negative, which they defeated themselves out the gate right there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You've already defeated yourself. And people weren't thinking solution based till I asked them a question.
Mm-hmm.
Till I prompted them to.
Right.
But we got pushback. We got messages, got messages that push back against the episode. Like some of the complaints they had had nothing to do with the episode, which let me know that people weren't listening. And even though I repeated myself several times, this is the purpose of this episode. It ain't about what you say.
Right.
It's not whether the obstacle can be overcome or not. Just come up with a solution.
Right. Yeah.
But the subject, I got some messages said the subject matter was too broad. It's too much. So I decided to narrow it down.
Gotcha. Yeah.
See if people can, with a much more pinpoint topic and something that's already so familiar with people.
Yeah.
Maybe people can have a better chance coming up with solutions for this. All right. This is a conversation between James Baldwin and Nikki Giovanni. We're talking about the state of African American families, Black families. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
All right. Let's start. Roll 210. Good conversation, didn't you think?
Yeah, definitely. I love them both. They're very both of them are writers and they're both like just awesome.
All right.
So yeah.
I think that the only thing that's changed in the last since Martin Luther King, since 54, I think the only thing that's really changed is the Black woman. And what she
No,
said.
I don't think she's changed. I think she's become more visible.
I think she's changed because there was a time, let's say my mother, my aunts and things like that, they would say, okay, if that's the way you establish your manhood, I'm going to go for it. And my generation says, hey, no good.
Okay.
You must establish a new base.
I'll agree with that.
And we are, as a group, demanding that a new base be established.
Yeah, but we can't.
There you go. Now, this conversation is interesting because both of them had really strong points throughout the whole thing. Then some of it went left.
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, from that clip, let me say, James Baldwin had a good point. He was like, the Black woman has become more visible, and that was true. The Black women had, become more visible. And I think what Nikki Giovanni was getting at was she was saying that, the woman really has changed. And what the women are asking for is a new base. And that's part of where the static is coming from. The men don't want to change. The women have changed. And that has been said on panel after panel. The women have changed. But the problem is the men don't want to change. As opposed to just, to adapting or adjusting. The men are more so saying, no, you need to revert back to old ways and old patterns. And the women are like, yeah, no, but we're not going back. But we're not doing that. We're not doing what our mothers and grandmothers were doing. So what you all need to do is adjust. And that's what a bumping of heads is coming into play.
Right. Shout out to Tarus for the $10 super chat. Thank you very much, sir.
Tarus.
If you're gonna play him a jingle, play the pass the collection plate. That's it. Just pass the.
Oh yeah, I love that way. Yeah.
If you're gonna do a jingle, do the pass the collection plate.
I thought about that yesterday.
God bless the fool.
God bless the fool. God bless the fool, goddamn it. And where that money pot at?
Where that money bowl at?
Okay.
Yes. How have my shape? I'm sorry. I had to remind myself where I was at. Praise God.
By the way, not that one. Not that one.
Listen, he still prays though. It was still in church.
Nah. But he wasn't asking for the money bowl.
Right.
He wasn't asking for the money bowl. That's
Lord
okay. Anyway, well, Black Man of Future just says in the chat, it's gone.
Oh no.
Yeah. But anyway, okay, yeah. I think that Nikki was correct. We do need to establish a new base because the reason I think, like I've said this before, the reason why the women of yesteryear accepted men the way they were is because largely people were together, period, out of necessity. They had to.
Yeah.
You know, so if you want to make it in life, give yourself the best options possible, you had to pair up and work together. Yeah. And that's also why so many relationships lasted 30, 40, 50 years. They had no choice but to stick together and figure this out and make it work.
Yeah. Both
of their backs were against the wall. Today, people can just leave. Mm-hmm. And oftentimes they choose that. Anyway, I think Nikki is right out the gate about establishing a new base. She is correct. I agree with that.
Right.
You?
Yeah.
And she's right where women of her generation up to now, they're like, nah, bruh. The old stuff, nah, I ain't with that. Come up with something new. I think that's what's going on as well. Shout out to Marcus. My man from, yeah. Marcus is in Marsoc, I think. Marcus, when you in Marsoc?
Okay. Beautifully animated speaks. What's going on, girl? How you doing? Oh, and I want to give a shout out to Vaughn Bryant too. I saw Vaughn in the chat. What's going on, Vaughn? How you doing? Who else? There was somebody else that rolled up. Quincy, what's going on, Quincy? Thank you for rolling
world
through.
Class.
Always.
Your boyfriend showed up. The world class.
Oh yeah. Hashtag Team Noble. What's going on? Thank you for coming through. Was it Hot Wings Lover? What's going on, girl? How you doing? Happy Wednesday. Who else came through? Is that it? I think that's it. Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, for now.
All right. Now, without further ado, we're gonna place more of this conversation.
Yeah. Okay, DL, just roll through. What's going on, DL?
DL, shout out. DL, you're gonna like this one. You're gonna like this conversation. Thanks for showing up. Also, roll to 11 because this conversation is gonna go on, and we're gonna do a good breakdown of this and let people up, you know. And see.
Be careful as a woman of what you demand of a man.
I demand that he be a man.
But you can't say,
the provision part.
Yeah, but you can't say you demand it. You have to suggest it.
Well, that's your ego that says that. No, I demand it. Now you deal with that.
All right. Okay. I'll even go with that.
I demand that you be a man, and I don't think that that's asking too much. Because if I wanted a provision, you know, I would get a camper. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I would get a camper that provides things. You know what I mean? You get an army surplus kit that provides things. I need a man. And black men have always been offered to provisions. People are either going to eat or starve to death. You know, the men of Biafra, the people were starving that they were still the men. Had to be that way. Through that horrendous kind of war, but it had to be that way because sometimes you are not able to feed your family. Sometimes you are not able to clothe your family. Do you then also deprive them of your manhood and of the input that a man has? Who teaches my son how to pee?
Yeah, but
You know, this is where things start to shake for me.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, tell me, what do you see when you see this part of the conversation?
What's interesting is James Baldwin was like demand, or you suggest or something like that. I think that was the term he used.
He said, be careful what you demand of a man. You can suggest it.
Right.
Don't demand it.
Right. And Nikki Giovanni was like, yeah, no, you demand. And from her perspective is that, everything, provides something, gives something. Like with the example that she used, like with the Army kit, like it provides something. There's something there. It has a purpose. There's a use for it. When a man shows up, his role was to provide, not just financially, but also to be the male energy, the manhood in the relationship. Like when she, before the video clip ended, she said, who teaches my son how to pee? Like who you also have to teach and to help shape and mold the family. Like there, like you have to, like you have to have there's a purpose for you. There has to be a use for you also that you bring, you give.
And what she was saying is that men are always talking about provision. She said that in that clip, right? Mm-hmm. Men always refer to provision, but she says if she needs provision, she can get a camper. Mm-hmm. She can get an Army surplus kit. That provides. No, I need you to be, and then she says, no, I need you to be a man. Now, she never described what a man was. Even from her point of view, she never described what a man was. So that's why I said, okay, it's starting to shake a little bit. I think because if you don't want a man to provide, and that's what men focus on.
We're hearing two different things, and maybe that's because I'm a woman.
No, here's the thing. That's actually
like
the point.
She was like, everything provides. Like if I get a camper, it provides shelter. It provides, somewhere mm-hmm. for me to live. It provides a shower. It provides this. There's a use for it. It has a purpose. If I get an Army kit, what all comes in the Army kit? Like, them little prep meals and stuff like that. So I don't have to go hungry. That it provides substance. So I don't have to go hungry.
Okay, cool.
It provides this. So as a man in the relationship, you are supposed to show up to provide also.
Yeah, but she's saying she doesn't need him for provision. That's not such a big thing. She needs him to be a man. So my thing is, because everything you're saying, I comprehend what you're saying, and I agree with it. Okay, especially these days, women don't need you to provide. Not by and large, they don't. But when she says, "Okay, I need you to be a man," it's like, okay, lady, what is that exactly? And so that's why it says kind of got shaky. I was like, she left a lot of context.
I don't know. I almost want to ask to replay the video because, like I said, I think the only thing you heard was, I need him to be a man in a relationship.
That's because I agree with the rest of it.
You didn't hear all the other things she said in between that link all the pieces together.
Yeah, who teaches my son how to pee? So I got that. Teach him lessons.
Right.
But for me, as being a man, I know that there's much more to being a man than just that. Mm-hmm. You'll see when we get further in the conversation. I'm sure you'll have questions as well. For both of them, because I got questions for James Baldwin too. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, bro, I need you to flesh that out.
Right.
But anyway, let's move to the next one. Roll 212.
Yeah, but you're talking, I agree with you. I see that very well. But it's one thing to be in a situation where you see that where you see a future, however bloody, and to be in a situation where you see no future at all.
But it is incumbent.
If I know
see a future.
If I know what I'm demanding of you, in some sense, makes sense. If I know the fact the kid is not eating today or tonight or tomorrow, in some way makes sense. Yeah, then I can be there. But if it doesn't make any sense, and if I don't see anything coming out of it at all,
will he eat if you're not there?
If you're on welfare, he won't eat if I am there. That's the law. But I don't want to get bogged down into that. No. What I really mean is that, yes, a man can do that if he sees a way, if he sees that it means something. My father couldn't see that. And he was quite right, because there wasn't anything.
Now they're getting into the meat and potatoes of it with that part.
Mm-hmm.
She was giving him what I get from the first two videos is she was giving him the answers that, as far as what was modern women then, what are they looking at, what do they want, what are they moving towards? She was giving him the answers. That's what I saw. I was listening to her. I said, okay, I agree with all that. You know, the only thing I had an issue with is like, okay, well then what is her definition of a man? Then she said, and I did the same thing as you did, but she said, well, who teaches my son how to be? Got it. You talking about teaching life lessons, like you said, being the male energy in the house. Got that. Then it got to this. What you see here?
I don't know. I guess I got kind of lost because I got kind of lost because I don't know. I guess because what's going on in my mind is like the part that you were hearing versus what I was hearing. I don't know. I guess I got kind of lost.
Did you pay attention to this video?
I did.
Do we need to replay it?
Yeah, we do.
All right, roll it again. 212.
Yeah, but you're talking. I agree with you. I see that very well. But it's one thing to be in a situation where you see that where you see a future, however bloody, and to be in a situation where you see no future at all.
But you are. It is incumbent.
If I know,
it is incumbent that you see a future.
If I know what I'm demanding of you, in some sense, makes sense. If I know the fact the kid is not eating today or tonight or tomorrow, in some way makes sense. Yeah, then I can be there. But if it doesn't make any sense, and if I don't see anything coming out of it at all,
will he eat if you're not there?
If you're on welfare, he won't eat if I am there. And that's the law. But I don't want to get bogged down into that.
No.
What I really mean is that yes, a man can do that if he sees a way, if he sees that it means something. My father couldn't see that. And he was quite right. Because there wasn't anything.
Okay, if he sees what being in a relationship means something, or being a father, man means something.
No, what they're talking about really is like, okay, how men always talking about provision, right? And having to get and keep it in context of the time period, the zeitgeist. You know, men are working factory jobs or they're working 2 jobs, but they're not in the home very much, leaving the woman with raising the children, taking care of the house, and she's probably got a job too. She has a lot on her plate, right? So that's the context of where this has come from. And please keep in mind the time period as well. And he's explaining to her, okay, why the man is spending so much time on a job or out of the house as opposed to, you know, spending less time at the home, as much time at home as he needs to.
That maybe you should have showed a little. The first clip should have been a little bit longer, because that context
makes a lot of difference.
A lot more difference, yeah.
For you, right? Okay, cool.
I was like,
what are they talking about? Like, why? Yeah,
it would make more sense. Like, well, I could see it. That would make more. What are you talking about? I mean, is he talking about being in a relationship makes more sense? Being a father makes more sense? So that makes okay. Now I understand. I had that context. Yeah, because the old ideals were that, you know, it was all incumbent on a man to like be the sole provider, and being the sole provider meant you worked long hours, especially like, you know, factory jobs and stuff like that. Even still today, working in factories and stuff like that, the factories that are left in America, you still work long hours, and so that means that they're not in the house that much. And so I guess I see now what Nikki Giovanni was talking about was like, you know, a woman needs more from a man than just his money. I need your presence to be in the house, because I need my children to see what a man is. I need you to teach my son how to be a man. And you can't teach him that working all these hours.
Okay. Beyond that, because that's the surface level stuff. What do you see here?
What, them going back and forth?
Again, the surface level, baby girl. What do you see in the conversation? That part of the conversation.
Well, I guess the better question is, what do you see? I
see the man giving her the answer and to what would be her question. And like, as you see it in the rest of the conversation, she's going to have trouble accepting that.
So basically, his answer is the man will go back if it makes sense to be in the house. He'll come in the house and forego making more money if it makes sense. That's what he means by, but it has to make sense. It has to be logical. It has to make sense. If there's a reason, if there's something there on the other end that's fruitful, then yes, I'll stop working so many hours, spend more time at home. That's what he's saying. You know what I mean? But that's I don't know necessarily. I can't speak for Nikki Giovanni in this in particular clip, but I can say this: that whole concept is an old school concept of a man working so many hours, and so many people, and especially like our parents' generation, and definitely our grandparents' generation, like they focus so hard on trying to make money that they completely forgot that there are other things that your children and your family need from you than just money. Like they need you to be in the house. Like, I don't know how many people I've actually heard say, like, yeah, having money is nice, but I would rather have had more time to spend more time with my parents. I would have spent more time with, or at least if, like, dang, you couldn't come to one softball game. Dang, you couldn't come to one play. Like, just, you had to work that much that you just couldn't come to one.
See, at that time, there weren't many. Black people didn't have many options. The guy kind of had to work those long hours. You know what I mean? Not kind of. He actually had to work those hours. He had to get whatever job he can get so he can pay bills. And she's saying, yeah, but provisions ain't that big a deal. I mean, I can get a camper for that, and we can live in a camper. No, but again, he's trying to tell her, this is why I work so many hours. This is why I'm not in the house so much.
But she's trying to tell him too, like, there are other things that your family need from you than just money. On your deathbed, on people's deathbeds, have you ever heard them say, wow, yeah, I wish I would have? What do you often hear people talk about? Older people, when people get in a old age, do you ever hear them say, yeah, I'm so glad I worked them 12 hours and missed so much of my child's life because I worked so many hours? Yeah. A lot of times they wish, and when they get older and they do retire, that what they do, they try and spend as much time with their kids as they can. They try and make up for the time that they worked so many hours and that they just weren't there. And let me say this. I mean, because the bottom line is there does have to be a balance. There does. Like, I just think, we do have to get out of that. And granted, older generations were operating solely from a place of survival. But my God, like, actually quality time with your family is just as critical as that dollar that you struggling so hard and scratching and surviving to make. There just has to be a balance. It has to be important too.
Okay. Cool. Now we got more of the conversation to go. Got quite a few more videos to watch, right?
Okay.
So that's your take on it so far. Gotcha. Again, keep in mind the time period, but you did a good job of explaining how that would relate today.
Right. Yeah.
Not so much a big deal anymore. So anyway, roll 213.
There's something, because all I know that works in the world is a relationship.
Yes, all right.
Okay, that's all that's going to work. It takes two people to have a relationship.
Yeah, but the relationship.
If you don't have a dream, fake it.
But the relationship, you can't fake a dream.
You got to fake it, because we don't have dreams these days. How the hell can you have a dream? For what?
Well, it isn't.
So everybody's jiving, but let's jive on that level.
If I love you, I can't lie to you.
Of course you can lie to me, and you will. If you love me and you're going off with Maddie someplace, you're lying to me. Because what the hell do I care about the truth? I care if you're there. What Billie Holiday say, hush now, don't explain.
All right, I accept that.
Of course you'll lie to me, because I don't even want to care. What does the truth matter? And why are you going to be truthful with me when you lie to everybody else? You lied when you smiled at that cracker down the job, right? Lie to me, smile. Treat me the same way you would treat him.
I can't treat you the way I treat him.
You must.
All right.
Oh, that jive. Stop all that jive. Yes.
Yeah, but that's not the point. What you see there?
70s and 80s and all that 60s and 70s terms, honey. Get me every time. Well, I do agree with her to say she said the only thing that, well, during that time, at least the only thing that really worked was a relationship. But that was because both people, and she said two people, it takes two people to make it work. And that's the truth. Both people have to be invested and committed to making it work. And part of that is, I think in relationships, like especially the part when she was saying, lie to me like you lie to everybody else. She's not saying, go out here and philander and lie to come on lying to me. What she's saying is, yes, you may have like frustrations, and yes, you may be, have a bad day at a job, but don't come home and take it out on me. Like if you want to talk about it, okay, we can talk about it, but still come home and be pleasant. Like no matter what you got going on, like you had the weight of the world on your shoulders, but you're going to go into your job and you smile at your boss every day, like ain't nothing wrong, and you still do your job every day, like ain't nothing wrong. Then come home to me, and smile and be pleasant, like ain't nothing wrong. Sometimes don't come home and make a mountain out of molehill because you ain't got no more bread or something like that to make your sandwich. Like, so yeah. Just be pleasant.
Do you agree with her? Or do you understand what James Baldwin said when he says, if I love you, I can't lie to you? See, here's the thing.
That's a lie.
No, here's the thing. And here's where the disconnect comes in. Because when James Baldwin was saying this, now I understand what she's saying. I do.
Mm-hmm.
She just wants to be pleasant. Like, and I understand what she's saying. If you can go to your job, smile, and be pleasant, and come home, pretend. Here's the hiccup. You can't. And part of your job.
Okay, well, you know what?
Let me finish.
I would give you that.
Let me finish.
You can't lie. You can't. If you don't have to. You don't have to necessarily lie. If you had a bad day, you had a bad day.
I got it. But let me finish.
You can still be nice. You can still be pleasant. And like I said, you can have a conversation about your day. If you want to talk about it, we can talk about it. I'll listen. But what often tends to happen is people come home and take their day out on their spouse. And those are two separate things. So what she's saying is, don't come home and take your frustrations out on me. Be pleasant to me, just like you was pleasant to everybody else. You smiling like everything all right. Smile to me. Still be nice to me, even if you have had a bad day. But don't take it out on me.
Got it. Here's what the guy's saying, though. Because here's what men want. It's not what men want. It's what men need. This is, and here's the thing. Most modern men today, they don't even know they need it. They have no clue. Well, so they can't even tell their women that they need it.
Right. What is it that they need?
They need you to be the one that he can vent to. Mm-hmm. As any man that comes up. Oh, sorry. Let me finish. Let me finish. Last time. Let me finish.
No. I'm before you finish your soliloquy.
Okay.
I'm gonna stop you right there. What I just said, and this is where we getting lost in translation.
We're not getting lost if you let me finish. You here?
No. Because what I just said is it's okay. Like, granted, you can come home and vent. But there is a difference between venting and taking your frustration out on somebody. There are two separate things.
Okay.
You can sit up here, you can talk about, oh yeah, and this happened, and and I'm just, in a bad mood. Okay, that's cool. That's different than, okay, it's a plate in a sink. Why is this plate in here? Why is it so dirty in here? Why is it so dusty in here? Why you ain't been cleaning? What you been doing all day? And really, when in actuality, the house ain't even dirty. It's just him taking his frustration out on her. And at that, in turn, creates an issue in your relationship.
Okay, here's what I was going to say.
And you ain't even listening to it, though.
I am. She's correct in saying that, hey, I just want you to come home and be pleasant. And no, you don't take your frustrations out on me. She's correct. She's absolutely irrefutably correct on that. I agree with her and you. However, what I don't see women understanding or accepting these days is when men tell them what they need, but then they get pissed off when men go get it from somewhere else. Because you see men getting mad. You see women getting mad at their guy for going to their friend's house and watching football on weekends. It's ridiculous, in my opinion. But because if it's just one day a week, he's hanging out with his friends, whatever. Or venting to his friends about something that's very personal about him, or venting to a family member. When the guy goes to vent and get stuff off his chest and express himself, I've seen women get upset about that when they do it for some other people and not her. So instead of her digesting that and saying, hey, why don't you do that with me? What am I doing wrong? They take it out on him and hold it against him. And what James is saying and what you missed, and almost every woman I've ever met in my life missed, he's telling her, listen, yeah, again, I agree with you. You can't come home and take your frustrations out on your family. You're dead wrong for that. And if she leaves you because of that, she's well within her rights. However, when this man comes home and says, hey, look, I can't, that's when he comes home. If he's had that kind of day, give him some time to himself, let him get that off his chest so he can come back and be pleasant to you. Whatever it takes, you know what I'm saying? But if he needs to vent to you, you need to be that person he can vent to. He's not asking you to be a therapist. Wait, he's not. Hold on, stop.
Problem. Here's a problem.
Can I finish?
Listen. Make a point and put a period.
I've made several of them.
Please stop going writing whole books up here. Okay, it's two people. We having a conversation.
I've made several.
Part of the reason why a lot of issues, a lot of people end up divorcing. A lot of times is not necessarily because the women initiated. It's because communication.
I was going to get to
communication, right? Communication.
You're jumping ahead with that.
Prime example. Sometimes, like, you can just be direct and make your point. You ain't got to go all around the world and back, which is how people get lost and get confused and lose what they're about to say. Like, which is why I get so frustrated with you. Make your point and be done. Like, we ain't got to go through all of this.
But when I do that, when I do that, people claim I'm being mean. Here's the thing. No, when I do that, people claim I'm being mean. Communication.
A lot of times, guys don't even give their spouse an opportunity to hear them out. They just automatically either assume that, like, oh, she ain't gonna understand, or I don't feel like talking about it, and they just end up never talking about it, or this ain't something they don't feel comfortable enough to have a conversation with their spouse about what they really dealing with or what they really going through, which is a lot of reasons why the first person they run to is their homeboy. But yet, when you come home and there's this underlining kind of animosity because you can't really, because your spouse can't be that safe haven because you haven't given her an opportunity to be that safe haven.
Most cases I've seen, I'm not saying all, but most cases I've seen, that's not the case. Most cases the guys try to make you that safe haven, but either the woman's dismissive about it in some way, or they say they don't want to hear it. Somehow she was being dismissive. And with most guys, you only get one of those.
But see, here's the thing. Just like you as a guy have moments where you don't feel like talking, like, okay, not right now. Not right now. If you try and come to her and have a conversation when she's not in the mood or not in the space to have a conversation, that's where you went wrong. If she's not in the mindset, she's not in the mind space. Maybe she having a bad day too. Like, not right now. Let me have a moment to unwind and like to get myself together. But you trying to have a conversation when I need a moment to myself. Like, Yeah, it's gonna come across as dismissive.
Okay, cool. I heard that. They continue this part of the conversation in the next clip. Roll 214, please.
Because I've caught the frowns and the anger. He's happy with you. Of course he doesn't know you're unhappy. You grin at him all day long. You come home and I catch hell because I love you. I get least of you. I get the very minimum. And I'm saying, fake it with me. Is that too much of the black woman to ask of the black man? For 10 years, so that we can get a child on his feet that says, yeah, father smiled at mother. He talked to me about school today. Who cares that you can read or can't read? Most Americans can't read. Most people can't read. They look at the pictures.
All right. There she goes. She fleshes that out even more when she says, okay, fake it with me. Lie to me. And the man has already told her, if I love you, I can't lie to you. She's asking him to do something that's not in his character or in his nature to do. That's the disconnect. Like, why are they not seeing eye to eye on that?
I think what the disconnect is you taking lie to be literally like don't talk to me about anything at all, and that's not what she's saying.
No, I understand. I'm not saying that at all.
Asking someone to be pleasant, even if they had in a bad mood, I mean, that's what men ask from women. Oh, a man needs a woman to be his peace. Yeah, well, maybe I'm not in a good mood today, but you still expect me to be peaceful. Am I correct?
No, I agree with you.
Well, then
we're not disagreeing.
Where is the disconnect when a woman is simply saying, even if you're having a bad day, okay, cool. You can still be pleasant, be nice, be peaceful. But that's typically not what happens.
What do you mean?
Let's just be honest. Okay, you keep saying, she keeps saying, lie to me. She's not saying like literally be like, how was your day today? Oh, it was great. Nah.
That's exactly what she's asking.
No. You can be truthful. I'm just saying, it's not what you do, it's how you do it.
I get it.
The problem is a lot of people don't know how to have a relationship. A lot of people don't know how to communicate. Like, if I ask you, how was your day today? You can say, it wasn't great. That's not me being mean or nasty. I'm being truthful. Mandrell, I didn't have a good day today. This and this happened, and I don't know. It's just wasn't a good day. You see what I'm saying? That rather than doing that, what a lot of people do is, it was all right. Wasn't here to eat. You ain't cooked nothing. You been here all day. You ain't do nothing. Don't be asking me all them questions. It comes out as aggression.
Stop it. Who comes in the house acting like that? Who comes in the house acting like that?
It does.
People come in the house behaving that way.
You wouldn't be asking. Or even if it ain't even gotta be, what you cook.
Why, you know what? Fair enough.
You asking me so many questions? Why you asking me so many questions? It's an anger or an aggressiveness that comes out, and really what it is he's taking his anger and his aggression out on her, as opposed to it's a misdirected energy. Simply.
Okay. Here's the thing.
It's because there's a difference between me being mean and nasty when saying like, oh, my day was good. I mean, if I say it like that, I'm lying. My day was good. It's either that I'm lying or I got an issue with you. It says one of two things. Either A, I'm lying, or B, I got an issue with you. And most people take it as I got an issue with you. Miscommunication. Which is simply, and all it is misdirected energy. You can be frustrated, and that's fine. And you can still be honest with your spouse about, I didn't have a good, listen, today, it wasn't a good day. I just need a second. That's more of a calming way of saying it, as opposed to you coming in and be like, and just being mean and nasty for no reason.
Okay, if that's what you see, that's what you see. If that's what you're hearing, that's what you're hearing.
Well, what is it that you see?
Move on. We're moving on. Roll 215, please.
Baby, I know what you're saying. I know exactly what you're saying, and I don't disagree. But no, I'm gonna be honest and think about it really. I'm not so sure that is a human possibility. I have to smile all day. And the cat on the job, the foreman. You don't understand why I'm smiling. Mm-hmm. Not because I want to smile. I'm smiling because that baby needs new shoes. I can't give a performance all day on the job and come home and give a performance all night in the house.
Okay, so one of the performances will stop.
Yes.
Boom. Right there. Mm-hmm. So, like I said, this conversation goes on. Mm-hmm. They don't come with any solutions or anything like that during the conversation.
Yeah.
I just think this is because I see points in this conversation where they could stop issue by issue and say, okay, and work this out. Mm-hmm. They could, if they were an actual couple, they could figure this out. Mm-hmm. So that being said, what do you think of this part of the conversation? When he's telling her, I can't put on a performance all day at a job and come home and put on a performance all day, all night at the house. Even she said one of those performances are going to drop. Mm-hmm. Yes. What do you think of that?
I mean, I get it. It is hard to come home and smile after you've been fake smiling at work. Yeah. I mean, listen. I know you're gonna have to fake it sometimes, though. Check. Even if it's just for the sake of, okay, so your motivation for smiling at your job is my baby needs shoes. That's a very practical reason. But your motivation for smiling at home is I just want peace in my house. Why can't that be a motivation?
See, this is something you could bring in a conversation. If like you and a boyfriend were having this very conversation, you could bring that up, and that would be a very good question to ask him. Mm-hmm. A very good question. So
I said, what do you think?
She doesn't understand what she's asking of him. Mm-hmm. She doesn't really understand it. I'm not saying she's wrong. Mm-hmm. I repeat, I'm not saying she's wrong. I haven't said she's wrong yet. Mm-hmm. I don't think she understands. But just like everything else with most other people, mm-hmm. it hasn't been all the way thought through. Like, how would you implement this? What does that look like in the context of a marriage or a relationship?
So my question is, I mean, you keep saying I don't think she realizes what she's asking. What do you think she's asking?
Say the guy went on his job and his boss has been just chewed him out or treats him like trash every day. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And I'm rolling over in the context now because she's not saying how she's going to help him. That's the part she's leaving out. Mm-hmm. She's not saying she's going to sit down and listen to him air out his grievances just mm-hmm. to put him at ease. Mm-hmm. She's not saying any of that. She's just saying, I want you to come home. And even if you have to fake it, like you fake it on your job, fake it with me. Even though she's right, where the guy should not come home and take his frustrations out on her. You should mm-hmm. never do that. You know what I mean? You should never. She's right on that, but she's not saying what she's going to do for him. It's very one-sided and self-serving. You know what I'm saying? And he seems to be, it sounds like he's trying to convince her of mm-hmm. something. You know what mm-hmm. I'm saying? That's what I see here. But they're both giving each other the answers mm-hmm. to their issues, but they seem to be missing each other. That's what I found fascinating about this conversation. Mm-hmm. They're giving each other, I'm like, so she's giving him the answer to that. He's giving her the answer to this, but mm-hmm. they still can't mesh it.
Yeah.
they still can't hear each other. That's what I found so fascinating about it. That's why I wanted to show this. This is a really good example. Two people giving each other the answers, but they still miss each other.
Yeah.
But okay, moving on. Roll 216, please.
So you say, and okay, I might be willing to go with it, but who's going to pay the rent?
Back to that again. The rent will get paid.
Look, baby, I'm willing to play it your way, but you have to see my point of view.
I see your point of view, but the rent will have to get paid.
The price of the rent is my smile.
No. I don't want you prostituting yourself. I demand.
I don't want you prostituting yourself either. One of us has got to work.
You'll work it. You will work it out because you are intelligent enough and you are sensitive enough. You are a man enough to work out a new system because we started off with everybody's protest novel and we're back there again. As long as the assumptions are the same, nothing will change.
Okay.
So we must corner ourselves to make a new assumption.
Okay, I buy it.
Uh-oh. Okay. What do you see here?
I think this is interesting. She said, you are prostituting yourself out.
Like I said, I'm not saying she's wrong. I haven't said she's wrong yet. You know what I'm saying? I am saying she's going in the wrong direction. She's going in the right direction, the right destination, going the wrong way by getting there. Like in this clip, and he says, but who's going to pay rent? The rent will get paid. The rent will get paid. Why worry about the rent? You're smart enough, you're intelligent enough, you're man enough. Like, that's cool. And he's sitting there thinking, that's cool and all, and thank you. But those compliments ain't going to pay the rent. They ain't going to get the foreman off my back either.
Are you the man is a leader, correct? Traditionally.
Supposed to be.
Right. Okay, so that means the man comes up with a game plan. So that means you need to come up with another game plan.
And again, look at the zeitgeist. Back then, what kind of game plan could he come up with? Back then. Now today, you got a point. You can go get it. You can go to night school.
Well, if you listen to him, paying the bills and the bills getting paid is solely incumbent upon him. Not once did he ever mention her as a woman making a financial contribution. It is solely on him, which is why she used the term "you prostituting yourself."
No, she meant prostituting herself in the context of him going to the job and faking all day, putting on a performance with the smiling, look pretty. You know what I'm saying? So the foreman won't be on your back or stuff like that. And Mr. Bennett in the chat brought up a really good point. He says she lost me a bit with those comments. It's essentially she's told him, figure it out. And that's exactly what every man heard in that conversation. Hey man, figure it out. And
you're the leader, right?
Okay, suggestions from you.
You're the leader. So essentially the traditional game plan is it is solely incumbent upon the man to pay all the bills to get the rent paid, right? Okay. So you need to come up with another game plan, another strategy.
But yeah, that's cool. Now, also, you have to get to know your mate too. If he's the kind of guy that doesn't take criticism well or bad news well, you know what kind of distance to put between you and him when it comes to making suggestions. But if he's a guy who's open-minded, who's fair, and who asks you for suggestions, hey, what do you think? And I remember like dating some women who would get offended or look at me a certain way when I asked them, what do you think? You know what I'm saying? I gotta look and they're like, you figure it out. All right, then cool. And I'm gonna figure it out. Here's the thing: you can't complain about how I do it now.
Right.
You had a chance to interject what your thoughts into this, and go. At least you can get something out of this. You know what I'm saying? So if you tell me just to figure it out, and I do it the way I want to do it, keep your mouth shut. You got no place to complain.
Right.
That man, because I've seen that happen too. You know, guys are isolated, and for no other reason, just other than inclusion, because she's included in the whole decision making process as well. He has the final say, but you have to help him come up with the answers.
Right.
Sometimes, you know what I'm saying? And basically, what she said in that video, hey, when it comes to the money and stuff, hey, figure it out. Don't worry about it.
Right.
Don't worry about it. I just need you here. You know, in the conversation, like, I just need you here. Your presence. She's right about that. She's right to want those things. Yeah.
Right.
Like I said, she's going in the right destination. Wrong direction to get there, though.
Right. Well, yeah. So she's leaving it in the hands of the man to come up with the game plan. And that means that you, as the leader, have to come up with a game plan.
Okay. But it seems like she's dismissing what he's telling her.
Yeah. Because he's worried about, okay, so how the bills will get paid.
Yeah, and she said, don't worry about that.
You need to figure that out, but you also need to figure out how you're going to be more present.
and see, for that, he's going to need her help.
Mm-hmm.
That's too much to put on one person.
It is too much.
You know what I'm saying? He's going to need her help to figure that out.
Mm-hmm.
What I found today in modern women is that they don't want to be a part of that. They want you to figure it out. Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm not your mama. I'm not finna baby you. I mean, you said it to me. I'm like, oh, okay, then cool. Now wait and see the next time I include you in anything.
Right.
Once you tell me that, you got no room to complain now, like at all.
Right.
If it's something that you didn't like, if the result of it is something you didn't like,
mm-hmm.
Shut. Or tell me you didn't like it, or say, hey, next time, let me help you with this.
Right.
That's the easiest way to solve it with me. Next time, to say if it's turns out to be something you don't like, just say, hey, next time, let me help you figure this out.
Right.
Cool, because I'm gonna ask you where did I go wrong, and you just honestly point out the things that I did wrong.
Right.
Next time, none of those things will be done again.
Right.
You know, I mean, that's one way to solve it. But we got one last clip. Let's get to that one. Then we're gonna move to dropping the link.
In case it was sort of like left up in the air, or somebody, like I didn't get it across. I really think that my father, Jones Giovanni, is a groovy cat, and he's lived with my mother now for 35 years under holy wedlock, and I think that that's good for them. I think that sort of thing worked for them, and I think that that's the main thing, that they were able to love despite it all.
That's what we were talking about before.
Right, exactly.
And you, by the way, you do not have to tell me that you like your father. I knew that.
Yeah, I think he's a gas.
Yes,
I just don't want to marry him.
Yeah, and so that's cool. Right there, what you see in that one?
Never mind. Okay. So yeah, I mean, it sounds like she does have especially she has great respect for her father. She was like, I just don't want to marry him. I mean, she doesn't go into details of like why, what makes her decide she doesn't want to be married to a man like her father. And she was saying, basically, her parents were married, for however long, in holy matrimony, and they loved each other, definitely. But basically, marriage ain't for everybody.
And she never got married.
And she didn't, and she was a lesbian. And oddly enough, James Baldwin was homosexual too.
Yeah, he was gay.
So
I wasn't surprised by that though.
Yeah.
I was not shocked at all James Baldwin turned out to be gay. There was no surprise.
Yeah.
I was surprised who he was allegedly with, though. I was kind of surprised at that. I was like, really?
Who, Langston Hughes?
Him and the guy who played The Godfather.
Marlon Brando?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Marlon Brando.
Turns out that he was a freak. He was a freak out here.
Marlon Brando was.
He was out there. He was out here.
Damn.
He was.
Okay.
I thought, he's one of the people like, oh, that's The Godfather. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I said, blah. Come to find out. Ugh.
Right.
Ugh.
Right. But
I was like, I could have went my whole life not knowing that and been perfectly fine.
Listen, they're people just like all the rest of us.
Yeah, well, that's something.
So
anyway, we weren't ready for guests yet, but we got one.
We are. It's fine.
Now, here's the thing. When it comes to that, like I said, what I wanted you to do, here, Shu, was let you watch these videos and help me come up with a solution as to how can they find common ground here. I don't need to know why they didn't find common ground.
Mhm.
That's just pointing out the problem. How can these two find common ground?
I think adding a bit more context in terms of like why she's saying what she's saying, and not just having to I guess make assumptions as to why she's saying what she's saying. So that way there could be actually like full transparency, and there is no like guessing, and that's part of a problem too, that a lot of people have in relationships, especially. They don't add full context and give full transparency to what they're saying. They just leave a lot of room for assumption. And in the assumption, there people misguess.
All the time. All the time people misguess. It happens all the time, you know. People are not mind readers.
Right.
If there's a problem, not only do you have to tell them what the problem is, but you have to express to them how severe it is. Like if it's something that's a deal breaker to you and that person did it and they didn't know, first you got to tell them there's a problem and tell them how severe of a problem that is for you. Now that person can know how to adjust their behavior accordingly.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? If it's a habit this person needs to kick, they know to get right on it, do what they got to do to kick that habit. But if you're not telling people how bad it is, then you're not communicating properly. Right. And then it's no surprise that your relationship didn't work. And now you have to hold a part of the bag of responsibility as to why that relationship didn't work. You weren't communicating.
Right, yeah.
You know? Yeah. Simp Panderson, a.k.a. Scam Likely, a.k.a. Blame
the Women.
Blame the women. Yeah.
That's terrible.
Okay. You know, I can read reading, but I can't read writing, apparently.
Women's.
Anyway, what do you think? Did y'all drop the link?
Yeah, that's how I came up.
Okay, drop the link again so people can come up if they want to. Now, what do you think? What do you think of this conversation? What can these two people do to find common ground?
What I got might be is way different than what I'm hearing in the chat.
Okay.
Number one, when she's saying lie to me, I believe what she's saying is if things go up and down, which is life, women need emotional stability. And if she's feminine woman, like the Talking Point Mafia wants, feminine women's emotions go up and down. Just like, and I use this example, children, 5, 7, and 12 years old don't need to know that the lights may or may not be cut off. They don't need to know parents got problems that they're working out in the back. Just like your supervisor tells you, I got this project and I need you to get it done. You're going to look up, yeah, I'm going to take care of it. I got this. Same thing when you go home. So how can you tell your boss, oh man, I got it. I'm going to figure it out. Because you don't want to get fired and look like a fool. You can fake it there and then figure it out. But when you come home and your woman needs you, fake it. Make sure you manage her emotions, because if you break down, she's breaking down right with you, and she can't support you because she's broke down. You dump your stress onto the woman, and she's already emotional. Now the kid's freaking out, and you might even have the solution, but now you got to manage 5 other things because your house crazy. That's what I implied from when I heard her lie to me. If you want some femininity and you want her to support you, you can't come home glooming and dooming. Well, how was your day at work? Well, man, the janitor. Well, man, she don't want to hear that. It's petty, but you don't do that to your boss. He says, hey, good morning. Hey, the Lakers. You can do it at work, but can't do it at home. That's what I got. But also, hold on, one more thing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, a couple things. I'll try to make them quick. Women need. We can protect and provide. They didn't beat it to death. No more. They need stability. That's emotional. They need stability, of course, financially too. Find a way to get the damn rent paid. It's probably getting paid before. It should keep getting paid now. But we don't know the rest of the context.
Okay, cool.
She said she wanted a man, teach the guy how to pee. She wants dude to be a man. She said it direct. And hold on, last thing. How did the conversation become? I thought the conversation was her telling him what she needs from him. How did it become, what about the men's? But he needs. This is the time he's supposed to be listening to what it is she needs. The next conversation, or 10 minutes later, okay, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I propose. Now, let me tell you what it is that I'm going to need for you. Or let me tell you what I'm going to do. And some of this you're not going to get.
Right. And that's cool, but none of that answers the question. I guess you can count that last part. I said, what can these two do to find common ground? I mean, I guess you can count that part at the very end.
Conversation is the answer.
Huh?
One, understand the conversation that's being had. Two, finish the conversation.
And like I said, what I saw here, like me, I'm not biased to this conversation at all. I think both of them did a good job of expressing what they needed from one another. What got my attention with this one is that, okay, you got two people here telling each other what they need, giving each other the answer. Somehow it's like two magnets just, pushing each other away, like, and just holding each other back like this. Instead of them being able to come together, they're kind of like right here. And it's like, okay, so they're missing each other. And they're giving each other the answers. I'm just like, what is this? How can they reconcile this? How can they put this together? Because it's not hard with the information that they gave. Finding common ground there, finding a solution is not hard with this one. Like you said, talk to each other. Okay, got it. Moving on, Tarus. How's it going, man? Thanks for coming.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Thanks for having me.
From the Warlock, what's going on?
How you doing, guys? Can we have to remember we need to get out of this either or mentality, right? Last time I checked, every last one of us has worked for a living and been in a relationship at the same time. It's not either or, right? And yet we keep acting over and over like it's either or. And when I was listening to the clips and the conversation, what I kept hearing was a woman keep telling this dude, I don't financially need you. I need you emotionally here. I need you in the household to help raise the kids, not be at work all the time. And the only thing he could respond with is, well, who's going to pay the rent?
Right.
Again, that's the solution, Mandrell. Understanding that our value as men isn't just tied to finances. Mm-hmm. And dudes cannot seem to get past that. And it's almost as if dudes don't actually know their own value past the paycheck. That's the big problem.
Real quick to Ruth?
Yeah.
In conversations of modern day, men complain so much about, so women just look at us like we just a paycheck. Well, if that's what you reduce yourself down to, what else is she supposed to look at you as? Like, in this conversation itself, she just said, it's basically telling you there are other things that your family needs from you, not just your money, not just monetary value.
Agree, Shushu, because think about what she had said at the beginning. I need you to teach my son how to pee. Right. The only way a man can teach their son that is by what? Being present in the household. You cannot do that stuck behind an office 60 to 80 hours a week. Because the only thing you're teaching your son is that your job as a father is to never be at home. Right. That's wrong, guys.
Okay. Well, thank you to Ruth for your comments. Hey, Mr. Bennett, how you doing? Is it Yusuf? Yusuf, I think it's Yusuf. Right? That's how you pronounce it.
Interestingly enough, you're right. But yeah.
First of all, how are you? Thank you for coming up on the panel. We appreciate you. Welcome back again. This was our second time. What are your comments about the video clips?
I was fascinated because that was my first time hearing about. I know about James Baldwin, but I've never heard of Nikki. But she's like the impression she gives of the impression I got of her. She's like the female version of him, just like this very I like the dialogue they had between each other, the mutual respect they had between each other. So that was my first time seeing her and seeing the clip. So I had to go back and watch that in its entirety. Secondly, I want to touch on 2 points. The first one, which I think was clip 212, when he talked about, he was referring to the welfare state and how if he was in a household, because there's this whole pushback, well, men are more than just financial providers, which is true. But then he mentioned how if he was in a household, one of the reasons why there's less of an incentive for men to be there is because it's almost advantageous for a Black woman not to have a man in a household. And I've seen that all my life growing up, especially most Black families. It's I can get more from the state. I can get more from him if he's paying child support. I can get more from him when he's not there. So, and that's the point that he was trying to make, but I think that was kind of missed, is that she wasn't catching that part of it, is that it's actually better for me not to be there because of the way the laws in the state is set up. Third, in terms of finances and men being in households and being more of a presence other than outside of just being financial providers, which is kind of like the stereotypical view that a lot of people have of men. The dilemma here is this: if you're the only provider in the household and you're trying to take care of a family, there's going to oftentimes be a sacrifice between you working those long hours or you being at home. So a lot of times men are going to make the sacrifice to make sure that the bills are paid, the roof is over that person's head, the kids and the wife is getting the food that they need. If she's at home taking care of the kid and she's not working, that was oftentimes the sacrifice. He's in the factory working 60, 70, 80 hours a week. You think he loves to do that? He understands that he wants to be there for his son or for his daughter, to be that masculine presence. But the price that you pay for being the sole provider, if you're making basic wages, is that you're going to spend a lot more time outside the home, outside of someone who is more affluent, someone who has the means, someone who has perhaps greater ambitions to achieve a lot more. So you have to pay for the privilege to be at home as a man if you're going to be the sole provider. So it's not just as simple as, oh, well, just be at home more often. Well, if that's the case, then that means that could be one less bill that's going to get paid. That could be more stress that's put on the family in a financial way. So it's not that men are unaware that there's other aspects to masculinity than just being a financial provider. It's that, is it going to be between me being there a little bit more often or much more often, or us ending up homeless possibly, us getting kicked out, the rent being behind, food not being put in the person's belly, or if they're getting food, it's not quality food. They're getting ramen noodles for lunch and dinner, hot dogs instead of steak, like things that we think about, okay, this is the end goal. This is the sacrifice I'm making. And I understand that when this child becomes of age, they're going to feel like they don't know who daddy is. But I know that I had to do what I had to do as a man to provide, because, I'm only making $15 an hour when I should be realistically making at least $25 to take care of a family by myself as a sole provider, in order for the wife to be at home to raise the child. But now if I have to take the woman out the house and she's having to work too, now both parents are not able to be there in an emotional way. So that's the sacrifice that a lot of people have to make. A lot of men do not have the luxury to go out and just say, oh, I'm going to be here more often. Now, that was my goal personally before I started having kids and getting involved in a relationship. But for a lot of men, they're in a relationship and they got to make it work. Now they got a kid with the woman. Now they're married to the woman. And there's very little leeway to get out of that situation. You need money to have that kind of freedom. You need money to be able to be the kind of man you really want to be. And you're always going to be spinning your wheel like a hamster. Always, constantly, if you're working a typical 9-to-5 job, a wage job, and that's just the way it is. It's like it's an intentional trap. It's designed, in my opinion, to keep the man out of the home, to keep him working 60, 70 hours a week. So that way he can't provide all the other aspects that a boy needs to become a man. Even if the man is the biological father and he's there, he's not there. He's there, but he's not there, because he has to make a choice. Do I provide sufficiently and to ensure that my kid is not raised in the ghetto in the hood, or do I work these 60, 70 hours a week to make sure that they have the food, the clothes, go to a decent school so they get decent education, even if I can't give them the education that I would love to give them as a man? It's a sacrifice.
I agree with you. There is give and take, and there are sacrifices that have to be made. But one thing she did say, she said, figure it out, right? As a leader,
It's not that simple.
This household is figure it out. No. What I'm saying is, figure it out means come up with another solution, right? Well, this is what she, as the woman in this relationship, is asking. Okay, we need more from you. Like, we need your presence. We need you to be here. So if you present the solution, okay, well, for me to be here more, that means I have to work less hours. So either A, we're gonna have to eat less meals, or B, even if you get a little part-time something to contribute something financially to make up the difference. But either way, I'm here more. I'm giving you what you want. But in order for me to be here, you know what I'm saying? They got to be a give and take somewhere. So that's my whole thing. Is just presenting another solution.
But that's what he was trying to do. He was trying to explain to her, okay, that's what he was trying to do when he kept saying, if I go to my job, hang on, CTJ, if I go to my job, and I'm performing the job, smiling at say the foreman or whatever, right? I don't want. He kind of mumbled it, so you probably missed that part. But he was like, I don't want to have to do this. He's like, I don't want to have to do this, but baby needs new shoes. See, he's not thinking about just thinking about her. He's thinking about the kid too. If he does take more time away from the job and spends with the wife and kids, the kid still needs shoes. Kid needs to be fed. You know what I'm saying? She's just saying, hey, and the way it's the cavalier way she did it that can't come off as dismissive. Like her presentation was off. Like I said, right destination, wrong route to take. She's like, hey, people are going to eat. The rich just going to get paid. People are either going to eat or they're going to starve. And what men are just saying is like, yo, lady, it's not that simple. You know what I mean? I don't want to work 16 hours a day.
Respectfully, Mandrell, I didn't get that vibe from her at all.
But what I'm saying is people are going to watch that video, Teruse, and they're going to take it that way. You know that. Right. I didn't take it personally. I didn't take it that way either.
Right.
I'm just doing a critique of the video. And I played that video because I wanted the people to sit here and think of solutions as to how these people can come around. That's really the point of that video. My opinion, if you want to know it, is they're both right. Yeah, there's two people who gave each other the answers, but still couldn't mesh it.
Well, that's because she was telling him, hey, the burden doesn't have to be all on your shoulders, and he didn't want to hear it. That's a big problem with guys, their inability to adapt and evolve. She literally told him, hey, rent's going to be paid. We got it figured out. I need you more present. And he's still stuck on, well, I got to provide. Yeah, the shoulder doesn't have to always be all on us. That's the whole point. But he just don't want to hear it.
Right. So, like I said, people, I just want to hear from you guys solutions, because this is a conversation that same conversation we hear on these panels today. That's why I presented it. So, just like last week, the point of the show, and this is what I think what confused people about me last week is because I was giving people different scenarios, different hypotheticals, and they thought that was my opinion or my point of view. No, I'm asking questions so you can figure this stuff out. The whole point is for you to think of solutions. All right, next is Mr. Bennett. How you doing, sir? What you think of the videos? What do you think? What a solution or two or all that you can come up with? How can these people come together and make this work?
Well, first of all, salute to...
Your mic's not on. We hear you, but not like we usually do.
Mic's not on.
It's on. Like I said, we hear you, but it's low for some reason.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, why is it like that?
I thought you were working on that too, Mr. Bennett.
Don't stop, man, Joe. Don't stop. Cut it out.
Is that better?
There we go. Much better.
Oh yeah.
It's weird. Where's my for my link here? It's not working. But anyhow, again, shout out to you guys. This is again another great show, and just to your point, how stuff from 50 years ago we're still talking about it. So this was this is a great content you've been able to find and remind us of. For me, I hear the frustration in both of them. I guess what I'm not seeing more of in people today. I don't know. I'm assuming it's probably back then too. At least the the assumption is that I'm not seeing the grace. I'm not seeing marriage as a safe house. I mean, I certainly, I guess as a man, I may vibe more with him to say, look, you know, if I got to play a role all day, I need to be able to come home and be naked, raw. Not, and again, I agree with Shushu when you said there's a difference between venting and taking it out on someone or abusing someone. I totally get that. And I think, you know, we need to understand that nuance. But when, you know, cannot marriage be that place where you can be your unapologetic self and share with your spouse how you really feel, and that person embrace you? You know what I mean? And sometimes it's not even about you necessarily having an answer, but simply just listening and just being a bit of a sounding board, because you can't do it with your kids, as I think St. Panderson said earlier. You know, you can't take it out on your kids. They don't need to know all your stuff. So again, so who else are you going to do that that to? And as far as the, you know, her solutions, I didn't really hear them. I mean, I think for a guy, I mean, because of a lot of times the way we think, figure it out is not a solution. Just like even at work, right? If you're going to be an effective boss, if my employee comes into me and says, like, I have a problem, I can't just tell them figure it out. If I'm going to be an effective leader, I have to provide a solution or give them the tools or resources that they need in order to take it to the next, you know, to come up with a solution. If there's an ingredient mission, if there's a roadblock, my role is to clear the roadblocks. But if my spouse is supposed to be my helpmate, then offer me something besides just figure it out. Or to me, it's almost as if saying, get over it. Like when people, when you go to your spouse with something and the spouse says, get over it. Well, that's not a solution either. So can you offer something more constructive that I can take to say, okay, here's our situation. How can I help? Rather than say, figure it out. If you're my helpmate, how can I help your situation if I can? And,
but Paul, it gets to a point where you keep saying it over and over again, right?
That's the biggest thing. Is there's no grace. That's what I got from the exchange. I'm sorry.
Gotcha.
Go ahead.
Paul, doesn't it get to the point though where anybody, man or woman, gets tired of repeating themselves over and over and over again? Like if I tell it, like for example, as a leader, it is my job to create solutions, to just figure it out, right? But guess what? My wife, my kids, my friends, maybe they're giving me ingredients. Paul, if they keep giving me chicken, and I swear up and down this is beef, and I don't want to listen to anything anybody has to say otherwise, well, at some point, guess what my family and friends are going to tell me? Hey, bro, figure it out. We gave you the ingredients, but you just don't want to accept it. So, hey, you're just going to have to figure it out, bro.
But as I asked you, Tarus, what is the, I didn't see an ingredient. What was the ingredient that she gave him?
She literally told him, I need you to be more present and that we can figure it out because I can lift that burden off of you. Don't worry about rent because we can handle that.
That's what I'm saying.
That's what she was implying the whole time.
But again,
okay.
As a man implying something for me, I need more direct. You can't say
Mr. Paul, you really telling me a woman has to directly tell you that you need to be present in order to teach your son?
No, but that's not the the ingredient. No, I'm talking about what is.
No, that is the ingredient. You being present is the ingredient.
No, Tarus, she's asking something different.
I don't have everything. If you have a suggestion, give me a suggestion for an ingredient that I can add to this.
Right. Okay. So here's a good suggestion. Here's a good suggestion.
And figure it all out, but give me something I can run with.
Here's a 2023 suggestion, and this actually goes back to Joseph or Joseph.
Idor.
Okay. You brought up some really good points. I just want to push back on one of them. You was talking about like some of the solutions and the burdens and things like that. One of the solutions in 2023 is the fact that a man does not have to be the sole provider. He doesn't have to be the only one making income. I mean, I have two children, 14 and 12, and I'm sorry, guys, at 6 or 7, they was going to elementary school. So why does my wife still have to be at home all day? Some of you guys want to be YouTube content creators. Well, you're already at the house, so why does she have to be at home? You're already in the house, right? Like 2023, we got dudes making money playing video games all day. Don't tell me that the woman still needs to be at home or that you can't provide, right? Like too many guys are stuck in this 1950s, 1960s version of whatever they want to tell themselves in 2023. And what these women are constantly telling you is, hey, we are in a new age where all of the burden doesn't have to be on you anymore. The solution, Paul, is to actually listen to that.
I got a quick comment. Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. And tell me if I'm wrong, but I thought that this was her. It was one-sided, and she was telling her what she needed from him. So the conversation hadn't took place where he was directly asking what he needed from her. Am I wrong? He was only responding based on what she was saying.
He was responding based on what she was saying, but in the conversation, they were both giving each other the answer in regards to what they needed or what they wanted. She's telling him, hey, I need you in the house more. He's saying, baby, what about these bills? She's saying, don't worry about the bills. That's going to get paid. Don't worry about the bills. He said, no, but we need good food to eat. People either going to eat or they're going to starve. In other words, she was coming up with a pushback or a clapback to him, no matter what he said. And when he was trying to, that's when he came to the part where he says, okay, when you're telling me something like that, it has to make sense. Like it has to make some kind. That's so. Shoot, even you got a little thrown by that part, and it's understandable. Yeah, and it's understandable. That's why he was saying, okay, what you're throwing at me has to make sense. Now, if I see if it makes sense to me, I might be willing to go with it. I said, okay, you know, what I'm saying that's when he said his father didn't understand. That's why his father left his family. And then he said, and his father was quite right. That's when he says, and he was quite right. There was nothing there. That's what he meant. Like if you know James Baldwin's history. Wasn't pleasant for him growing up.
All right.
So, you know what I'm saying? Right. So,
I see what the bigger problem is then.
That's what he meant by he's like,
his
okay.
father didn't know how to communicate. It's possibly why their family broke down. And it didn't teach him, so he didn't know how to communicate.
Right. And so
he's swinging a sledgehammer. She taught, he swing the sledgehammer. She taught, he swing.
That's why he kept going. He had the one point.
Right. She wanted to hear confidence in him saying, look, I got this. We're going to work it out. And then come back and start asking how we're going to work it out.
All right, before you go, so I got
both of them need to be able to meet.
Go ahead.
I think you got to come to a. She's got to elevate a little bit. She's got to learn some different language. He has to learn some also. I agree that certainly neither one of them probably understood, or we certainly don't always know how to communicate. But that's part of being in a marriage situation. You have to learn each other a little bit. And if she needs to make it more plain for him so he can take and run with it, then she needs to up her language also. It can't just be on him to do that.
And Paul Mandrell, real quick, historically speaking, just so I got context of the conversation, was this conversation they had before or after what was it called, Title IX, that I believe allowed women back in the workforce or something like this? Was that before or afterwards?
I'm not sure. I know this is 1971. This conversation is 1971. This conversation was in. Now let's get there. We have a special guest on the panel tonight because I got to get to her. Thank you for coming, Mosaic TJ Randolph. Shout out to you. Thank you for coming.
That's right. Thank you for coming through. Yes, got more feminine energy on the panel.
Right. We need more women to come up. TTJ, you would have been really great these past 3 weeks. Like having you here would have been fantastic.
Yeah,
really? These past 3 weeks, 2 weeks ago, Shu and I did a show where I found this conversation that happened in what 1963 was it? Yeah, 1963. Same conversation you hear on these panels, same talking points, same everything. And I was like, and I asked my sister, I said, "Does this sound familiar to you?" She just bust out laughing. Because I didn't show her the video before I played it on the show. I didn't show it to her. I wanted her reaction to be authentic. She just bust out laughing because she knew what I was talking about.
So basically, we haven't grown at all.
In 55 years, we have not grown. We've learned. It was called "What Have You Learned?" That's the title of that one.
You're right. Yeah.
We learned nothing in 55 years. And so here's this conversation tonight between James Baldwin and Nikki Giovanni, and I thought it was interesting because, and like I said, again, the point of me showing this one, because last week I did a show based on solutions. My goal was to get people to think solutions based. The topic wasn't really relevant. Opinions weren't really relevant. Can you come up with a solution to this problem that I brought to you, or any problem that you bring to the panel? That's what last week was about, but people told me it was too broad, too much, be more specific. I said, okay, I found this one. How can these two people find a solution, even though they're giving each other the answers? They're both right, just missing each other on the interstate.
Well, you have to put it into action. You just can't speak it. You have to do it. And I think it's interesting because I've seen this clip before, and I didn't know that this is the clip that you all were referring to. So I kind of went back and looked at it. I think about when I was growing up, and I lived with my grandparents. So in as much as women may not have been allowed in certain aspects of the workforce, it's not like women and they were not working out of the home. I mean, my grandfather worked at the lumber yard. My grandmother was a domestic. So, women working outside the home is not a new thing. The difference is, though, to somebody's point, I don't know who said it, the man was seen as, he was working a lot more and he was gone a lot more. But I think what I remember is men still put family as a priority. I think the difference is when you think about the time, they may not have had because my uncle is in his 70s, but we were just talking the other day about my grandfather. My grandfather always took time to ask him how his day was at school. But we always ate at the dinner together, at the dinner table. So it was just different. Now I think I'm not really sure why it has changed, because I think we've always known that men have got to, men have been the providers or the mainstay or the stabilizing force of homes. But the impasse is something I don't particularly understand because we've always made it work.
TJ, can I ask how many children were in that family?
My mom, 3. Well, actually four. Actually four.
Well, she and I brought this up earlier. She was like, how people of yesteryear made it work, and I was like, well, that's because back then they largely had to. They didn't have a choice. Like it's the equivalent of taking 2 people, putting them in a box, locking the doors, figure this out, and they, you know what I'm saying, and they had no choice but to stay there and figure this out and figure out how to make this work. Today, you largely have the option to leave. And what I see nowadays, men and women, even though people say it's mostly women, they're opting to leave as opposed to working things out and figuring out how to make this work. They don't. Women today don't seem to. Again, ladies, don't seem to be willing to accept the fact that no man who comes to your life is going to check all of the boxes. You're going to have to sit there. Your first 2 years is largely going to be trying to understand each other, just learning each other's language. The first 2 whole years, probably longer. A lot of people, both men and women, don't seem to be willing to accept that. So they take the option to leave, which makes no sense to me because you're going to be starting over with square one from nothing with someone new. Well, you could have just stuck with this person and just learn how, and just figure them out and went on with life together.
Can I interject one point?
If they're leaving, there's a reason for it.
Yeah.
But there's one point that you left over when you talk about the people of yesteryear. If you whatever class you were in the yesteryear, that's all you saw. There was no perception of better. You looked out, if you lived in a middle class neighborhood, you looked around, everybody had the same shit you had. Everyone was in the same situation you were in pretty much, unless somebody's putting hands on you. All you saw was exactly what your status was.
True.
You don't get to see the spots that I'm at. You would not get to see the areas or the people or the circles that I'm around. The paywall is there, but like people can see through that now because you have social media. So everyone gives you the highlight reel of what they're doing in their life. And then you go, I'm missing out on something. even though you might not have access to that. You might not be in those spaces, but all of a sudden you deserve a high value man. You do? Or you deserve the top echelon club baddie, which honestly, actual rich people are not marrying club thoughts. Just so y'all know. Like there's so many different things, and like the sacrifices that come in with what you showed in that video, there's a sacrifice either way. Like I do run in those circles of those people, so I get to see how they live in their homes. Those men will be home. They're not present, even if they're home, because the work has to be done. Like most of this illusion that like once you have money, you don't do shit is a lie. That
Well,
only
that's
black
throw that out the
people seem
window.
to believe.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like we the only ones who buy into that shit. Everybody else is sacrificing. They're at home, but they're not there because they're managing stuff. Like if you run a business, which is funny because you can tell when people are talking about they're getting in their high value. I'm like, you don't have employees. It's just you. That's not a business. That's an expensive job.
Who implies that once you have money, you don't do anything? I haven't heard that narrative on social media.
Literally, I've heard it tonight.
I've always heard that the more money you make, the more responsibilities you have. That's what I hear.
That's because it shows, again, you were taught or mentored by someone competent. A lot of people don't have that luxury, man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not even that. It's
But
like
the majority of people did, though. Like, majority of people are on the right path.
A majority of people are average, and average is getting destroyed right now. A majority of people are in situations where they're going to get set into a social cast that they're not going to be able to get out of, and they're going to be slaves forever. Like that's not good enough. We are setting
Doesn't that apply to the universe since the dawn of time, though, Reckless? Most people are average.
Okay,
I mean, I'm average. I got an average I got an average skin tone, all that. Like,
do you have
not
to be
special?
Do you have to be?
You don't have to be, but you also could be happy with what you have, right?
The best.
Sure.
I agree with that. Because we're men. We're men. We weren't made to be happy. We wouldn't have air conditioning. We wouldn't have houses. We wouldn't have the society we have right now if people just focused on being happy. Someone sacrificed for this.
Isn't that why people came up with AC machines so they could be happy and not be in the heat all the time? They could be happy, cooled off. Like our desires drive our innovation. Our desires naturally drive our innovation.
All right, fellas, we're getting off topic.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay, Rick.
What I'm getting back. Well, let me land the plane. What I'm getting back to is there is a sacrifice either way. Somebody has to be that catalyst. Somebody has to do the above and beyond. Now, you could opt to be the best father on the planet. You're like, I'm going to be home. I'm going to teach my kid how to pee. I'm going to be here for every single thing that this kid needs, and I'm going to be there and do that. But then you're broke. Your family's broke. Right. Or you're living bottom side of middle class, talking about, oh, these rich people are lazy and like we got to eat the rich, and I need somebody needs to make this fair. But I'm happy. He's not happy.
We're present.
Like I've literally gotten in my Lexus 0 times and been upset to sit in that fucking car. Like I've never gone over to one of my mentors' houses and played with the Lambo and been sad about it. Like ain't nobody who's getting it or trying to get it sad. Nobody's sad.
Reckless.
Like,
my question for you is, like, when you saw these two here, what did you think, and what kind of solution? What do you have as a solution that would bring these two together? Where could they meet in the middle with this?
And I can speak to this because I have this problem with my girl all the time. Women want whatever it is that they're not getting. Period. They want shit. Like this is what we watched was a classic shit test. I want you to be at home with the kids. I'm affording you a lifestyle. Like, what else do you want from me? I want you to do this, this, and this. Now, you as a man, definitely, if you have a son, you should be teaching a kid how to pee. Like, I'm just saying, you make time for that. But you can carve out time for that. Where there's a will, there's a way. Right?
Okay.
But when there's going to be there's always going to be something when you're dealing with a woman. Women just want stuff. Women want stuff. But at what point has women built a civilization? Never. They show up and come in and be like, this should be over here and this should be over here and this would look better. And they make it smell nice and they make houses homes.
Okay,
they
cool.
want
So
things.
Because I got to move. Reckless. Because I have to move forward. Your solution is Carve out time for it. Got it.
Well. The thing is, as a man, you should handle your responsibilities, and I don't think that it's a large ask for that woman to be like, "I need you here to teach this kid how to pee." Like, you've got the stuff that you got. Make it work. Also, after a certain point, you need to be having him under your wing, teaching him anyway. It might not necessarily be as intensive early on, but that's the reason the person that you select as your mate, as the person you have as your wife, is so pivotally important, because it's her responsibility to instill your legacy into that child. That's not you. That's, as the man, you don't instill the legacy. A child's mental image and a lot of their trajectory and a lot of their programming is done by the age of 5. That is a woman's realm. She has way more impact than you during that time period. It's more or less on her. She's so important. And that's the reason when I see these dudes going around talking about, I'm trying to change these club baddies, I'm like, bro, you are setting yourself up to have a failure of a family. You're going to make a failure of a child. Because the person that you're going to have being the most important part of that child's life has bad programming that they're going to program into your legacy that's not even going to be your legacy anymore. She's going to taint it. And there's nothing you can do about it. Like, during those years, that's a woman's realm. She's in control.
All right, cool. Thank you for that. Auntie TJ, did you have anything else? Looks like you had something else to add. And then we're going to get to Rush.
Yeah, I've been trying.
No problem. Go ahead.
I think I understand what the young man was saying. However, yeah, women want stuff. But I think, to use myself as an example, yes, my ex-husband was very successful, very wealthy, never home. But who else suffered? Our daughter. Our daughter suffered. And I think that's what, from the clip, there has to be a balance. And right now there is none for many people.
Wait, I'm sorry. Can you expound on in what way she suffered? If you
because she never saw him. I'll give you. I have so many examples, and some people have seen my daughter say it on out of her own mouth that, because she's been on my show, that when she was about 9, she brought me her allowance, asking maybe if she could pay for some of her father's time because he was working all the time. Also, when she was 5, she drew a family picture. Me, her. I say, "Where's Daddy?" "He's working."
Dang.
I can attest to that too. I'm sorry. That's why I was saying, I had made a point earlier. I was like, so many people have said this out of their mouths that they wish that their parents were present more. I can attest to this. You know how many how many plays I did, how much extracurricular stuff I did, and my parents maybe came to one or two, because they were always working. And for me, I had to beg them for that. I was like, come on, like, you can't come to one, just one. It's gonna break your bank so bad if you miss one shift to come to see me in something that matters a lot to me. Like, just one? Y'all don't realize that matters to people.
And I'm going to tell you something. And here's the thing, and I would tell my ex-husband, Danielle's asking for you. She ballet. He never went to a ballet recital, never went to her honors program. None of those things. I said, Danielle, and I would tell him some of the things that Danielle would say. He said, she didn't say that. But he would throw money at her. Fly her all over the place, shopping sprees, and until she got to the age that she started asking for money. And then he said, well, she treats me like an ATM. Well, that's what you showed her. That's what you showed her. So even now to this day, my daughter has said, they don't have the relationship that she always wanted. Now that she's a mother and she's talked about, she sees the affection and the adoration that her husband has for their little girl, that she's never known that. So the money is there. The money's there, but you don't get the time back. And I feel bad when I hear my daughter talk about that.
May I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
So was that something that you knew the trajectory that he was on when you went under that man's covering, and that was the program that he had? Like, he was like, these are my goals. I'm clearly expressing this to you up front before we get married, before we make this child. This is what I'm planning on doing.
Nope.
Okay, that's fair. Okay, so me personally, like, I've had that conversation. Like, my chick knows. I'm like, if we get married, this is what it is. I'm not stopping.
Hey, Reckless Fred, I had a question.
Yes.
If you sat down with your spouse and said, we got this plan and we got to focus, and this is what we're going to do for the next 30, 60 days.
Yeah.
She trips and falls, injures one of her hip bones, and needs a surgery. Would you deviate from the plan, or gotta focus on that plan? Hell with the hip, we'll glue you another one 6 years from now because of the plan.
Scam. I've cut my entire family off for years at a time because they didn't fucking get it, dude. I don't give a fuck.
Oh my God.
You asked and got an answer. Like, I literally I went like literally over 5 years without talking to my mother who birthed me, because she didn't understand what I was trying to do because they couldn't see it. And I came back with results.
That would be a little bit
good.
different than your own kid, though, right? That's a different relationship dynamic than maybe doing that, not speaking to your own kid for 5 years. It's different, right?
It depends on what it is.
Well, I will say this. You sound like my ex-husband, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing. It is what it is. But my ex-husband did the same thing. As a matter of fact, when I met him, he was, estranged from his family because he was an entrepreneur from the time I met him, for sure. So he's always been an entrepreneur. But it's a lonely existence.
Well, 100%. But so is leadership.
Hold on, please.
Go ahead, ma'am. I'm sorry.
It's a lonely existence because you don't allow anybody to get close enough to you to penetrate. I mean, to have any type of influence in your life. So I think what the solution is, I'm not saying don't go for that, but I'm saying there must be a balance, especially when it concerns more than you.
Well, when you say more than me or more than you, hypothetically, so more than me, what are you consisting that of? Because more than me for me means changing the trajectory of my family. It means moving the needle forward for the legacy that I've been put on my shoulders, because they didn't do well. They failed. So it is on me to sacrifice the things that I want to do, the things that I would enjoy doing, the things that I would like to do. I do not get to focus on happiness. I've removed that from my existence because I need to do what I need to do right by my ancestors and my family and I'm not estranged from my family right now. Like, we're thick as thieves because they understand what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. I come from a matriarchal family, and they're not ready to follow. They were not ready to follow a man. Yeah. So I had to do what I had to do. I had to go show them. I had to bring them the water in the bucket, splash in their face a little bit, and be like, look, this is what I'm trying to do for all of us, because what you guys are doing isn't working. It hasn't worked, and I've watched you lose every piece of wealth this family had because of your negligence. Now, I don't want you to talk to me about money. You need to come to have me help you get your bags. I got you. But there has to be a hierarchy. There has to be somebody where it's like, hey, this is how we're moving together. I'm not trying to take all the profit.
What I'm saying is this. Yeah. I've never heard anyone on their deathbed ever say, man, I'm glad I wish I missed this chunk of my child's life because I made an extra $100 or so, or because I did this or that financially from. I've never heard.
You're talking. That's
always, and typically when people get older, once they've, I guess, you could say they've retired, particularly like a lot of times when they hit retirement age, because they're not so much worried about money anymore. The main thing they focus on is trying to establish the relationship they didn't have with their children during their younger years. And then, some instances in some relationships where it's, because the child has always longed for that time, has always longed for that connection. You do have some children who are accepted with open arms, but you do have some children who are resentful. And it's like, I don't need you now. I'm an adult.
Yep.
I'm making my own life. I'm making my own way. Like, what do you want from me? You know, so it's a toss up. Like the bottom line is, yes, I get much. Yes, providing is important, but also, I mean, even if you take a day or so, or like a week or so, or something, some extra time for them. Because a lot of times, especially, and I think what TJ was saying, especially people who are entrepreneurs, they are so focused. I'm talking about tunnel vision on this. I got to make this business work, that they completely neglect all other aspects of their lives.
But see, that's what it takes.
Right.
That's
That's the sacrifice.
What I'm saying is, every now and then, you do have to look up and say, all right, there are other parts of the life that matter.
Right. Shoot. So coming from the other side of that, because like I had somebody who was very involved. My grandmother, she did everything. She was the glue that held this family together until she died. And when she died, and we found out that she had a reverse mortgage on the house, and we lost another piece of property, another piece of generational wealth, because she wanted to see us all doing well. She wanted to see us happy before she passed. And she did everything. She is the reason that I'm the person that I am. But we watched that, and then when she died, and we lost that house, that she raised me, she literally grew me. She was like, you're the first male in this family line. Period. Everyone else is women. I was the first boy. She was like, this is going to be your house one day. We're going to do this. And then as soon as she got terminally ill and she died, she flipped that reverse mortgage. And then the rest of the family, the other women who were running shit, lost that house because she left them with debt. As much as we loved her, as much as she did everything for us, she was always there. She sheltered me from getting my mom would have killed me between second grade and sophomore year if it wasn't for my grandmother. But like all those memories, and the thing that stung out was like, we lost that fucking house. She did everything. And we lost that the legacy that she'd created herself with her hands and her labor.
What you're doing is
we lost that.
So much value in material things and less value in the actual emotional connection that is more important than that house. You can get another house. You can't get another woman like your grandmother. You just can't.
Right.
Yeah. Reckless, your grandma's not perfect. I mean, it sounds like you came out great. That means she's successful, right?
Real quick, y'all.
I am great. But why as a society are we sitting here asking about why we're at the bottom of every metric if we're supposed to just be happy and enjoy and screw up everything else? As long as we got that emotional connection, then why is all of these black folks out here in the victim Olympics complaining about us being at the bottom of fucking everything?
Why does it have to be either or? That's all I'm saying. Why does it have to be either or?
It's the fact
hang on one second, Rush, are you still there?
It's what it
is. I'm here.
I'm so sorry. Thank you. You have been so patient. You have been so patient.
My bad. I'm sorry.
I just want to give Rush a second to get in here and jump in on the conversation. Thank you for coming through. Number one, what are your thoughts on the conversation?
My thoughts on the conversation is, when it comes to a male having the prerequisites of, linking up with a female, whether if it's marriage or dating relationship type, he has to be able to provide. That's one of the first things that, females speak about. The first thing when a female in groups introduce a male introduce their boyfriend into the family, the first thing they're going to ask is, what does he do for a living? And that's one of the key components on, being a male, having the ability to provide. I understand, sometimes you do gotta have some type of priorities when you're having kids, because it's kind of important, to teach your your seed to do certain things, because the mom might not be able to have the ability to show her son how to urinate. That's something the father should take pride in, teaching his kid. But at the same time, the flip side to it, Yeah, I mean, just like what Ray was saying earlier, women they need things, especially like going through the marriage route. You got to cop a crib or a house, vehicles, car notes, all that. Like these are the responsibilities and burdens that most men that's responsible have to carry. I think there should be some type of understanding from the the female side of it, like, hey, if you want me to spend more time with the seed or whatever, we might not, be able to go, out for dinner like 3 days a week. We might have to settle for one. You know what I mean? These are certain sacrifices that the female should make to alleviate some of that stress with the male. You know what I mean? And word out, when it comes to dudes, like, especially if he provides and he got a normal gig, like it's not looked at as a valuable thing. It's kind of like he needs to figure out on how to make things work, whether or not and when that responsibility is on the dude, he gotta he pretty much gotta make magic happen, man, and it's not that easy. But I understand from both parties on what they expounding on the situation. I mean.
Right.
Hey, if Shushu, can I get something out real quick?
No, I gotta say something real quick.
Oh wait,
real fast.
I know you wanted to say something real quick, and
Yeah,
then
so
back there.
just real quick to Rush's point about how he said that women want things. Reckless also said the same thing. Women want things, but what I think the both of you missed was what Shushu and TJ said earlier about TJ's daughter eventually growing up wanting things from her father. She grew past the emotional connection. Shushu is the same way, I'm sure, right? You adapt to wanting things from the man in your life. So the woman that's in your life most likely was that TJ's daughter, was Shushu at one point. So these women grow up with fathers at one point wanting that emotional connection, wanting something more than just things, a spiritual, emotional, and mental connection and bond. But they grew up to be 18. They turn 20-some years old. You're dating those women, and you're finding out they're carrying that habit. It doesn't just go away. That whatever experience they had with their father, just wanting things because their father was in their life, now they bringing that to you. So that's the residual of that. And in some cases, if it's not you, you could also be the one creating that. So if they're coming to you initially wanting something more than just things, one of the ways I found that women want to get a man's attention and to keep it and to have some sort of investment in her is because we value material things so much. We value the money so much. And so this is what men, they want to spend money. And so we say, we want this expensive thing. Maybe if they're financially invested in us in a significant way, that'll get them invested in us. Because if we can't get them emotionally, if we can't capture their heart, their mind, their spirit, then okay, the money is what they're working hard for. So that's what they value. So let's say, I don't know, we want $100,000 a year man. Let's say we want a man who makes $500,000 a year. Let's say we want our nails done all the time. Let's say we want these expensive vacations because that's what they value. So a lot of times they're following our lead. And
but
TJ
honestly,
just gave that example, and
Shu
just gave that example.
But honestly, I didn't get when they said things, at least the way I took it, I didn't necessarily get that it was always material.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
what I haven't noticed with a lot of women, things oftentimes mean emotional. I think it all ties back to emotion. So whether it be the physical item or the time or the attention, it's all about emotion. So I think, at least that's how I took it. I didn't think these guys only meant, okay, yeah, here when you're 18, I'm going to give you a Lambo or something. I mean, I think it's more than that. It's just the emotional needs of a woman is something that's always going to be there no matter what you fill it with. Because again, the physical thing that you get, you may get that new whatever it is, it's only going to last for a minute and then you get tired of it. So then you're going to want the next thing that fills you emotionally. So that's like that's
present
like
she was
exactly.
Well, yeah, and let me say this real quick, guys, and I'll let you guys have it back. Good evening to everybody.
You black man.
I was sitting here just thinking about all the men who sacrifice every day to provide oil, to provide military protection, to provide all the things that we use on a daily basis, right? My grandfather was on the pipeline for 39 years. and he would be gone. He'd been in Alaska for 3 months on a 3-month job. He'll go to Cincinnati 4 months, right? He'll be gone months at a time. And him and my grandmother had they had an understanding. Hey, listen, there in this years that I'm working right now, ain't no black man making this kind of money a week. And I've been given the opportunity. They hired me. I have to take this job. And this job is going to keep me away from my family 3-4 months at a time. And my grandmother understood that. Even men today, every man is not going to be a college educated business owner, entrepreneur guy, but he has to do what fits his job skills. And some of these men are very good with their hands. And they'll go out on these not cruise ships, oil rigs, and making $3,500 money they would never make with the educational background that they have. But they're making $3,500 a week, $2,500 a week, and they're bringing that home to their families and to their wives. What about those men? Do we have empathy for those men who have to, because they don't have a particular set of skills, or when it comes to education, do we tell those men, hey, listen, you shouldn't go work on the oil rig, stop working for a few months and spend some quality time with your children? They're not able to do that because in the oil business, we all know if you leave there, they're going to replace your ass in 24 hours. So that's what it comes down to. I think a lot of men, military men, I know Mandrell can talk about that more. When you join the military and you choose to serve your country, what about those men who have to go on these different tours, who have to go to Afghanistan for a year, have to go to Iraq for a year, right? Have to be gone from their families for a year and a half. They leave, their wives are pregnant, they come back and their children are walking. What do we tell those people? What do we say to them?
And the thing is, and black man, that's why in the Army I didn't get married. Like I was on, especially with what I was doing. If you're on an SFODA, you're deployed all the time, and then if you're Delta Force, forget it. But when I got there, I didn't know a single person who had been married but not divorced at least 4 times, at least 4. The rest of them just simply weren't married. You know what I mean? So I was like, yeah, there's no point. And then I saw how much time I was away. I was like, there's no point. There's no point in getting married. I'm not going to know that person until I retire. I won't know my children because there's so many people I've met that didn't know their children. Now, and that part there, I do understand the woman's the point of view of the ladies, what they're saying, as far as the little girls, your children, they just want daddy home. Because, again, they don't know any better. They don't really know what daddy's doing. They don't know any of that part that the man sees. They see daddy ain't home. And what really got me is when TJ just said her daughter drew a little family picture. The father wasn't in the picture. Where's daddy? At work. That, you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? And see, I'm sure if a father heard that would hit him different too. Or let's say if he did find out,
Hey, Auntie.
No, because I was also in the military and I got 2 deployments and I was 8 years active duty, and they go out of their way to let us spend time with our families.
Not us, dude. Hold on. I was SF.
You were a very minority. I was regular Army grunt life, bro. You were special forces. That's very specific.
I want to ask Auntie something real quick. Auntie, how do you feel? Because I want to get it from you first, and then Shushu could follow. How do you feel about people who are in that lifestyle, who the only way they can provide is with their hands, and they're working on oil rigs for 3-4 months at a time, or in the military, of course? In some situations where, like when the war was happening, a lot of those men didn't see their families for a year. So what do you feel? How do you feel about that, Auntie? And hey to you, Shug, I ain't seen you in a while.
What I feel about that is that when you are home, be present.
Right.
And that we talked about, there were times that my ex-husband would be home, but he wasn't present. And you still may have to work. Guess you are, engaged, especially the more responsibility, the more money, the more responsibility. But at some point, you have to carve out some time when you are there to make it count. I mean, case in point, my husband's a truck driver. He's gone weeks at a time. But when he's here, he's here. And I made it clear. I said, listen, if we're going to do this thing, I understand that I'm not going to try to make it different, because when I got with you, I knew you was a truck driver. I'm not going to try to make it different now. But when you're here and I'm going to let you get your rest, I ain't going to bother you for the first day or so you can recoup. But I need I need you here with me.
Presence.
I think that's the balance is what I'm talking about. I'm not suggesting that you say forget a job. No. But it sounds based on what we were listening to, and even just in these scenarios, and using my ex-husband as an example, when he was there, he wasn't there.
I like that. I actually do like that a lot. One of the families that I want to model my family out of here is a very powerful family in the city that I live in. And when I was over there, one of the things that he makes sure to do, because he is gone in and out all the time and their family's all over the place, but he was like, when we eat together and we talk. There's no electronics out. They're dialed in for those meals. They have lunch together if it's possible. And then when they have dinner together. And one of the things that like really struck me about this family that like got me to kind of start picking his brain about how his family structure was set up was when I was working over there, like we're setting up his server rack and I'm like down in the basement. He was like, hey, do you want me to grab you lunch? And I was like, okay, cool. So he gives me lunch and like his daughter brings down the lunch. And so I get it, kind of sit it over there and I'm sitting down in the basement, camped out, doing my thing. And he came down and he was like, so you're not going to come up and eat with us? I was like, what do you mean? He was like, no, come eat at the table with the family. And I was like, oh, okay. But like, that's how they roll. Like, so I 100% do. So I take back my previous pushback. That makes sense because like I've seen that at a very extremely high level. And I'm like, when you're home, you should make it a point for those times to like create those family bonds because he knows that he doesn't have all the time that a normal person would have with their kids.
Yeah.
So he tries to make them as beneficial and productive as possible to like impart himself into them.
And if I may add, you know, and that's what I would try to impart to my ex-husband, you know, because some of the best times when they would have times is when he didn't spend any money at all.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't spend any money at all. He would sit in the room and color. He'll sit with her. He'll sit in the room and watch her. You know, they're sitting there watching her cartoons. And
Right.
the sad part for me is that there wasn't enough of that.
Yeah.
Mm.
Awesome. Yeah. So here's my question to oh, he's gone.
But that's what Nikki. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
That's what Nikki was talking about. Is presence. That's
yeah.
everything that TJ's been saying. That Shu has been saying, and Shu is clearly very, very like. It's almost like it took her back in time to where, and this is years ago. So
Yeah.
that it had on her.
I'm gonna show you the effect it had. Like even now, sometimes like if I'm gonna be on a show or something, or if I'm doing something like, you know, as far as like acting or performance, or like for instance, like I got I had a whole like show that I produced everything myself that comes on, and like I put it on YouTube, and like, you know, I put it on social media and stuff. My mom's like not really on social media, but like she still feels hurt or she feels some type of way when I don't like tell her about things that I'm doing. And like she had a conversation with me about it, and like I'm better about it now. But like I told her, I was like, be honest with you, I didn't think you cared. I didn't think it mattered.
Yeah,
like y'all weren't ever there for anything that I did, so I just took it as though y'all just didn't care.
Yeah, and the thing is,
you know what I'm saying? So it's just like,
Yep.
and I just kind of trained myself to not tell you because to me it didn't matter to y'all. So why even bother telling you? And like in fact, like it does matter to her, like, you know, because she want to be more involved in stuff like that. You know, she wants to have more of a closer relationship and stuff now. And I was just like, you know, I mean, I'll do, now that I know, I'll do better. You know, I try and make more of an effort, but I didn't think y'all cared.
and the thing is, like that conversation with me, because I was asked this, I think I was asked this a few days ago, like how many of you, I think the question was on the panel, was like, how many of you all had a conversation about women with your parents? Like, did your mother teach you about women, like what women to look for, and what women to stay away from? I'm like, no, never. My mother and I've never had that conversation, like ever. We never talked about sex, like ever. She bought me. I was 16. She bought me a pack of condoms. Asked me, was I having sex yet? I said, no, ma'am. She gave. Well, you do use these. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, like that. That was it. Like, that was the birds and the bees. But this conversation, Mr. Bennett, this conversation she's talking about, she asked. This came up with me when I was in the Army. She actually found out what I was doing. Why would you take a job like that? You could die.
Yeah.
You could die. Why would you do that? I said, Mom, first of all, it took you this long. Even though I told you what I did, you just still didn't know. I didn't think you cared, really. Right. I had the same answer she had. I was like, the only one who actually figured it out was Shamaria. And that's like, I would call her. I'll call home. Shamaria would pick up. I'm like, okay, cool. I talked to her. And then she look at the caller ID. She's like, where are you right now? I tell her where I was. She's like, why does the caller ID say you're in? I'm like, stop asking questions.
I was like, I'm not deployed. I am. Oh, why say you come from Utah? And then like he'll call again. I say you in the data.
I'd have to tell her. Okay. I have to tell her like, stop asking questions, because it's not a secure line. They listen to everything you say on those phones, you know. So she was the only one who actually kind of figured it out. My dad, I told him, and he drove. You know, he and I still didn't have that conversation. But the reason why we didn't is because, like, when I was going on my first deployment, he drove me back to Fort Bragg. After I drove home to drop my stuff off, he drove me back to Fort Bragg for the deployment. That's the first time I ever seen water come in his eyes. I've never seen him tear up ever once in my life until that. So for him, I didn't need to talk. I understood. It was one of those magic things we talk about, Auntie TJ, but guys just understand. It's like I looked at him in his face and I saw him like he didn't full out cry, but he was tearing up, and I was like,
"That's enough."
Yeah, that was it. I didn't need anything else. But yeah,
sometimes that's all you need.
That's the point that TJ made, because I think Terese would agree, and so with Reckless, when I talked about your spouse helping you to have an understanding of what she's needing from you, like instead of just saying figure it out, I think TJ, the way you described it when you said it's not about your money or it's about being present. I mean, I think that's what men are looking for. Like, don't just say figure it out. Give us something that we can work with. All right, so when you home, we at the table, no cell phone. Put all the electronics away. Give us something that we can go on. That to me, that's what a helpmate does, is to help you frame it in such a way it's like, okay, I can run with that. But from the conversation that from the video, that's where I was getting. That's what I was looking for. And I think TJ, she did a good job of framing that.
Yeah, she did.
Where like, oh, okay, now we get it. And I think that's all I'm asking for. I'm not saying we got to come up with solutions, but that's what I think a helper does.
I agree, but at the end of the day, it comes down to what Einstein called it relativity, right? It comes down to the perspective. So, for example, and I'm not it's not good or bad. It could be different. It could be normal. But I just recently went to a wedding with my wife. One of her friends got married, right? I don't like going to weddings. I'm not that much of a social person, especially with all the crap I'm dealing with from both deployments, right? All I did was drive and show up to the wedding with my wife. And that made her entire weekend. You know why? I didn't have to stand there and act like a leader, act like I knew I was this bad. I just was there with her. That's all she wanted, was just me being there. Like when I'm working on my car, a lot of the times my daughters are just in the garage with me. And then they start asking questions and they're just present. Like the setup I got right here, I got the home theater setup. This is supposed to be a man cave. My daughters and took it over. It's not mine anymore because they just want to be around. You know what I mean? All your kids want to do is just be around their parents, right? But too many guys, Paul, and this is the problem with a lot of men, because some men, unfortunately, portray this image as if they like work more than their own family. So they'll find excuses to stay at work longer simply because they don't want to go back home, right? And a lot of the times you get caught up with this idea that your career moves, but the moment you have a family,
they may do that because they don't want to be around a nagging wife. You know what I mean? That's why a lot of time moves with overtime.
But remember what we was talking about earlier in the panel. What if you're the nagging husband? What if you're the one coming through the door and you're the one causing all the drama because this ain't done right? That ain't done right. Well, I'm saying in a normal relationship or a marriage, right?
Fair enough.
For example, we talk about Mandrell and Paul talked about, well, being that helper. Well, we always talk about a guy being safe, right? That's a sanctuary. Well, there's guys who go home every day, get drunk, and beat on their wife and kids. So for that guy's sanctuary, that's another child's gulag. You get what I mean? It's perspective.
Fair enough.
Yeah, definitely.
Fair enough. What about the guy who goes home and sits in the driveway for an additional hour and a half because he just doesn't want to walk in there and hear this mouth?
And that's a problem that needs to be discussed. It works both ways, right?
It goes both ways. You're right.
I'm just saying, like, when we as men, at the end of the day, bro, I asked for my wife's hand in marriage. I asked to have these kids. So when I have free time, when I'm not working or, doing whatever, instead of going out with the boys, even though I'm married and have kids, when I just invite the boys over to the cribs, right?
Right.
Because that's what I got the crib for. I don't have to go to work and then go to happy hour with the homeboys. Well, what's the point of being married? You get what I mean? Yeah.
Right. I mean, you shouldn't be married if you don't want to go home, in my opinion. That's like,
right. I agree.
Like, that's a terrible setup if you just trying to not go home.
Can I say something real quick, and then I'm gonna have to go, because the reason why I haven't been around is because I've been called out of retirement, so I started consulting for the past month. So, because again, you gotta have some skill sets that people want.
All right, yes, come on.
So they got me out of retirement. But to that point, with Mr. Randolph, when we got together, because again, knowing his schedule, I just said, I understand this, but this is what I'm going to need from you. I need at least, we need to be able to have at least 2 date nights when you're home. I need us to have a family dinner once a month. And because our kids are grown and we have grandkids and we're combining families, I said, I want us to have a family dinner at least once a month with all the kids and grandkids, and kind of like what you were talking about, Reckless, when they come over here, they have to leave their phones in the bird cage so we can have family time. And during that family time, we play games, we play Scrabble. And it's so interesting. It's so interesting because it goes to what you're saying, Mr. Bennett, about the help me. Because before he got with me, the tradition of trimming the tree for Christmas, his grandkids had never done that. So that was our engagement, and we trimmed the tree. And they had never done that before. We made food and hot chocolate and all that kind of stuff. The next year, they said, Papa, are we trimming the tree this year? So those types of things matter to the little people. Those are the things they remember. And so the first year that we couldn't have the tree trimming when COVID, that let me know that they really enjoyed being around their pawpaw and bringing the family together. So, again, it goes, we got to say, tell us what you want, and then you can tell us what you can give.
Yeah.
I think that goes back to the importance of having a good woman to back you up, because like the thing that a lot of people might not dial into is like, you dialed into that piece of him, you add that other piece. Men aren't good at everything. Women are good at way more stuff than we are, to be honest. And the context that a good woman brings into your life is she's supposed to amplify it. You dial in and see those things. Like my chick, she does similar stuff. Like she gave me a list. She was like, cool, like this is what I would like to do. She was like, we need to have one legitimate date night at minimum a month. Like I want to go do something. And I'm like, okay, cool. She also remembers all the stuff that the important dates that when I'm working, I don't remember. She's like, oh, we need to go get a card for this. Like we need to be over at your pop's. Like, you got Father's Day coming up, right? I'm like, yeah, it's on the calendar. And she's like, you need to set your reminder out further because like the day of isn't good enough. But like that piece that you bring to him is so much value. And like the reality of it is like that's what men of all calibers are looking for. Like it's important. And like that's value in my opinion.
Absolutely. And again, you're putting it in such a way. It's like, how many times as guys we're saying, oh, well, you're supposed to know, right? And it just doesn't work. But we like lists. Send me the list with the iPhones. You can share the list. You can make the list yourself and then share and forward it to me, and I got it. And it's right there. So like
that's kind of
we can
all in reckless.
issue,
Absolutely right. My calendar is
No,
on share on the iPhone, and my wife updates that shit all the time.
Yeah, and the thing is, today it goes back to what I was saying. Like people, boys are not taught to be husbands, women are not taught to be wives. It's because like what Reckless just described, men of all calibers are looking for that. However, women of today see that as they don't want to. Number one, they don't want to do it. Two, their point of view on it is askew. They'll see that as mothering or babying you.
I mean,
they do. They do.
Is it? How is it not? I mean, because you're no wait. Let me
flesh that out, brother.
I'm hearing. I'm gonna flesh it out because I'm hearing for two different people, from Reckless and from the last gentleman with the headphones on. It's. I'm keep hearing this. I need lists. I need directives. I need. And what James was saying to the lady that he was interviewing, he didn't particularly like being told like what to do, or he didn't like being given directives. The suggestion part was to me, that's like sort of a masculine thing. Like if you're needing directives from a woman, that puts her in the frame where she now she's leading you. She's telling you, okay, I need you to do this. Okay, remember, you got to do this. I'm thinking in my mind, at least the way I was raised, is like I have my own list, my own goals, and it's supposed to be the other way around. It's supposed to be, okay, hey, wife, let's go. Hey, babe, we need to do a date night. Hey, let's do this. Women are much more comfortable in that role as opposed to now when the roles have to be switched and she has to be the one to say, hey, remember your last birthday, or hey, we should do date night. That puts you in it's subtle, right? It's real subtle. It's almost kind of like, oh, it's harmless, or she's just kind of helping me. That's what it means to be a helpmate. But to me, what a helpmate means is supportive, is more so inspiration, more so, hey, I know you can do this, you got it. It's me having my own ambition, me having my own list, me having my own directives, and me leading the way every step of the way, even down to the little things like date night or birthdays or things like that. It's a very that type of thing that you're requiring of a woman to do. It's a very masculine thing to do. So you're asking her to switch the roles.
My question is
everything you're saying.
Can I say this real quick? I think there's a misconception when it comes to being a leader. Being a leader doesn't mean you have all the answers or that you know everything. Sometimes leaders do need suggestions. They do need help, like with coming up with ideas. That's why every leader, like of every country, has like a council, a general council.
You have advisors.
Because you do need suggestions. It's a lot of pressure to have to think of everything yourself.
So Joseph,
you have a vice president, you have a chief of staff. Like every leader has all those people giving him suggestions, but he makes the final answer. He gives you the final yes or no on your suggestions, and that's what the leadership structure is. But like you said, like she said, the concept of what a leader is, it's skewed, and it's because you got so many different voices, especially here on YouTube, so many different voices spewing out different answers when the vast majority are just flat out wrong. Because the guy thinks that, okay, you do what I say because I said it and what I said. No, dummy, that's not how it works. Okay, your wife has a voice too. She's the vice president for a reason. How do you not listen to her? You married her. Right. Why does she not have a voice in your house, which is ridiculous. But but both men and women have gotten that answer. And one day, Shu and I are going to do a show, and we're going to honestly give you our fully fleshed out opinion on what that whole thing is, leadership in the household, what a marriage looks like. And so that way, because I get a lot of questions, people like send black men unfiltered messages about me. Mandrell's all over the place when I'm just like, no, you ask me a question, but then you ask me a question in a different way. Like if you ask me what I think about something, I'll tell you what I think of it. You ask me what I feel about the same subject, I'm going to give you a different answer. Because what I think about something and the way I feel about it are two separate things. That's my perspective and my perception. That's the difference. Then you have the third P, which is my position. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, people just don't understand me. And They want things to be simple,
Joseph,
and the world is much more gray than that. Than black and white.
I think the reason why, Joseph, it might seem like a negative is because everything you just named, like for me, the way I was raised and the way I go about my marriage, that's actually a good sign that your girl is giving you suggestions because she trusts you as a leader to actually change it up. Because if she didn't view you as a leader, she wouldn't say anything in the first place. You get what I mean? Like,
saying though.
Like,
but
that's what I'm saying. Like
now,
she's saying,
but your examples was very explicitly, it was, hey, you need it. It's almost it's like what Mandrell said that she wasn't doing, which is not babysitting, but kind of like hand-holding. And it's, if I'm hand-holding someone, I'm leading someone. But you're saying that's not what it is. But
that's not hand. No, that's not hand-holding.
Yeah, Joseph. That's the thing. That's not hand-holding. What that is she got suggestions. For example, I don't know if you've ever seen this show on TNT called Leverage, right? You got the guy who's the mastermind, but guess what? He's got the tech guy. He's got the guy who's an expert in fighting. You got this guy who's this woman who's an expert in like spy and like dressing up and everything. But you still got the centralized leader who comes up with the big picture idea. But guess what that guy still does, Joseph? We as leaders, we're still going to listen to the tech guy when it comes to the tech stuff, right? You get what I mean? Right. Like we're still going to take the suggestions from that tech guy and implement it in our overall plan. So that's a good thing that she's coming with that because she actually trusts you to take that and develop a plan as a leader. That's the responsibility we want to have.
I was going to give context for me personally. I'm I'm partner in a business. Like I've got people whose livelihoods depend on me. I'm in a high end business that deals with a lot of high-end clients. It's a lot of high stress. Like, I just don't remember other shit. like basically, like, I'm like, if I'm with somebody, if they're supposed to be helping, that is helping to me. Like, I have to live out of my calendar. I can program it in the calendar, but like having somebody who's got your back, that's got your six, because this ideology that these people are, that as a leader, you're just leading everywhere is counterproductive. No one leads everywhere. Most dudes not only don't lead in their house, they don't even lead at their jobs. Like you're like, how many people's livelihoods are tied to you personally? Like if you don't show up, how many people don't eat anymore? That's a different level of stress.
That's real.
And like, yeah, so it's a different level. I was like, I don't know, none of the people that are mentoring me are their wives not on their ass about their calendars, bro. And they're actually rich. Like all of those wives, they don't do shit else but help those dudes. What else are they going to do besides sit there if they're not helping?
Right. And Joseph, think about this. Like even in the military, when you have military families, right? You have any idea how many guys I talk to, and then they're like, yeah, my wife washed my socks, and she dried them and folded them up. And like their wives will pack their bags for them, set their alarm clocks. That's helping. That's a helpmate. That's not holding your hand. Reminding someone that you have an appointment.
From directives, though.
No, it's not. What Mr. Bennett meant by directives, meaning like be more specific. Like be more specific when you explain to me what you need. You can't say, "We'll just figure it out."
That's why figure it out and finalize it. But the fact that I have direction in terms of how I can better organize and manage my calendar, that's what I'm looking for. But just to have a generic statement, figure it out, like I got all the answers. No, that doesn't, at least it doesn't help. It doesn't help me. But as much clarity my wife can give to a situation in terms of what the need is or the specificity, then I work out the final plan from there. I can run with that.
Right, and that's why I made
grab stuff from the ether.
And that's why I made the point earlier, like when I was saying, if you tell me something like that, like, oh, just figure it out. Okay, I'm a problem solver. I'm going to figure it out. But if I figure it out and you don't like the way I did it, or you don't like the way it came out, keep your mouth shut. Because I invited you to give me your input. I'm gonna, if you tell me, hey, Mandrell, I need you to take care of this for me. Okay, any particular way you want it done? No. Anything specific you want done along the way? No, just figure it out. Okay, I'll figure it out. And I'm going to get the job done. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm going to ask you for your input first. Because I have to include her into it too. So you're telling me that, like, all right, but if you don't like it, you have to be involved. It takes two people to be in this relationship. like Nikki Giovanni said earlier, all that stuff doesn't matter. But what we do know is relationships work. But it takes two people to be in that relationship, and it takes two people to understand one another. And this conversation, like I said, what made it so interesting is that they were both giving each other the answers. They were both right, but they couldn't come to a consensus. That's why I was asking you guys, the purpose of tonight's show, like last week, was to come up with a solution on how these two individuals could have put this together and found some middle ground.
I think Mr. Bennett had it. He had it right that she just kind of missed that extra step. She had she told him what the problem was. We need presence, which then Shu expounded on it, and then TJ expounded on it, what that means, examples. But she didn't say exactly what TJ did, which I think might take some woman maturity, a certain level of maturity, to be able to describe what that is. Because some women, they can express what it is they're looking for, but they don't know exactly how to do what we can do typically, I think, better, which is have like a logical, which is, a very definitive, okay, X, Y, Z. Women just tend to say, oh, this is how I feel. And then we're also expecting them to sometimes be specific about like certain things that they're not in that space to do it. They have to go in a different space to kind of quantify what that feeling is, to be able to give us that type of, okay, this is the plan, so to speak. And so she, in my opinion, she spoke from out of frustration, which a lot of women do. But it can take years to get to the point where you become like a TJ and you're able to say, okay, you remember this example? Okay, do more of this, do X, Y, Z. But typically when they're younger, it's more like, oh, that, we just need to be present. We just needed to be present. Okay, what does that mean? In our mind, I don't know, figure it out. So she was just missing that extra step. So the solution is what Mr. Bennett said, is just that extra step.
But to me, that's what part of marriage is all about. And I think that's something that's missing from that. I think your sole purpose pretty much in marriage is to learn your spouse, learn their language, learn how they communicate. Yes, men, we need to be understanding, but women, you guys have got to level up the conversation to our level. Imagine if a German married a French person. How would that work, right? Both of y'all are gonna have to learn some stuff. If I was like Tarus, if my wife is German, Tarus, do you speak German fluently? Are you
not fluent? I'm getting there though. Yeah,
there. I'm just saying you're gonna have to learn some German stuff, because there's certain things that are in German that don't translate well to the English language.
Yeah.
So you're gonna have to learn some stuff. Get a book, get the YouTube or whatever. Even on the phone, they got the translator on the phone now. So you're going to have to learn some, so again, everybody needs to upscale their level of communication, and that could take years. But like I said earlier, the issue is nobody has the patience anymore to put that work in and come to that level of understanding.
Yeah.
And so
thank you.
So
the woman,
go ahead.
I'm sorry, but I was about to say, so the woman, you want the woman to be able to basically what this is, what it boils down to. You want the woman to rationalize more what it is they're expressing, and women want us to express more what we're rationalizing, because that's basically what it is.
Yeah.
We want them to be able to communicate in a way that we understand better, but they also need us to communicate in a way that they understand better, which is emotional intelligence.
Joseph, that sounds like the yin yang, right?
Yeah.
It is.
And it mixes perfectly. You're right. And so now, fellas, we're going to move on to final thoughts. We've kind of gone over time tonight.
I think I dropped mine. I mean, that's mine. You can go.
That's yours. Yeah.
I think that would.
And that was a jewel. Yeah, that was a mic drop that you gave us.
Yeah, Paul.
It was a mic drop, Paul. It really was, man. All right, Tarus, final thoughts.
Yo, I really enjoyed this conversation. This was a really chill convo. We actually got really deep, and we actually got some solutions. Yep, Mandrell, we actually got some solutions. You need to give the panel some credit today. My final thoughts is this, guys. Let's all remember there's very few things in life that is black and white, meaning 1% is either or, the other percent is vice versa, and 98% is yeah, but no, however, maybe, I don't know, and anything within the spectrum. We live in a world where if you find somebody that you can level up with, that's somebody who is like-minded like you in a relationship, yes, it takes hard work, but you can have both. Right? Don't we have a car right now? Again, not trying to flex, but I had a BMW M6. It's a 2-door car. I got 2 daughters. I kind of need 4 doors, right? Well, that's why I got the BMW X5M. Same engine as the M6, except 4 doors, all-wheel drive, because I live in Northeast Ohio. See, I can have both. Right?
I like that. I like that.
Yeah, and so we got to remember, guys and women, don't get into the point where you're competing with your significant other. Because a lot of this comes down to, especially with finances, sometimes it comes down to jealousy or resentment or damn, why is he or she getting this bag and I'm over here struggling? Right? Sometimes we don't contemplate we don't contemplate the struggle when we forget that each of us being our best individual selves organically makes the household stronger. Right? That's trickle up instead of trickle down. It's focusing on the foundation and it naturally builds itself up. But guys, once we start getting into this either or, black and white, every single thing, you start realizing that you start separating from your significant other the exact opposite of what you was hoping for, which is coming together. Those are my final thoughts.
Right on. I agree with that. The world is not black and white, but people operate in that way, and they think that way. That's why these last 2 weeks have been about trying to get people to think in a different fashion. You know. So next up, for final thoughts, Rush. Number one, Rush. Thanks for coming on. Shu, I don't know if you met Rush before, but as you can tell,
I've been on Rush panel before.
Rush is very much so a New Yorker. He's so New York. So New York. He's like, the second he opens his mouth, it's like, wow. I have not heard anyone New York that hard.
No, but he's not in New York. I think you in Philly, right?
No, I'm in New Jersey.
In Jersey, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, know what I mean? Hey, yo, Rush.
What up?
What up, guys? Need you to remember them final thoughts. Know what I mean?
Yo, my final thoughts. Matter of fact, salute to everybody on the panel. And my final thoughts is seek wisdom, practice humility, and always remain sucker free. You heard? I'm out. One.
All right, Rush. Thank
you.
Final thoughts to Reckless Ray.
I think for my final thoughts, I think people just need to know what they're signing up for, and this goes both ways. Men, be forthright, be very upfront. It's better to run a woman off on the first date and get her up out of there than sell her a bill of goods that you're not going to be able to fulfill on and give her a life experience that's not going to be good for her or you, because it either way. And women, be honest. Like, there obviously a lot of women go for lifestyle, but like, if you're not going to be able to get what you need out of that man, then you need to move on, because all you're doing is wasting your own time, and then you're going to end up out here most likely with that dude's kid and being a baby mama. Like, it's not going to be fun. Like, it's just not going to be. Like, we have to stop trying to put square pegs in round holes and expecting people to not be exactly what they said that they were going to be. No one assume that people aren't going to change for you. Like, I would go with that. And if you're honest up front, at least then you can have an amicable interaction, and you know what it is, and be like, cool, this isn't going to be long term. This doesn't work, and there doesn't have to be bad blood there. The bad blood comes from people feeling like they wasted time because they tried to make the square peg fit in the round hole. So just be honest. Say what you need. Can you do this? And if you can't, move on. It's okay to move on. There's going to be somebody out there who's going to do what you want. Now I'm going to leave it at that.
All right. Thank you very much. Scam Likely, the guy who showed up for part of the show, left and came back.
Now he had to speak about the women's.
He did.
Yeah, whenever in doubt, just blame the women's. The women's for everything.
No, here's the thing. They both were right about that conversation. What I saw is these are two people who are both doing the right thing by telling
No,
each
it was
other.
the women. It was the women's.
They're telling each other what they were looking for.
Single,
However,
single moms. Yep,
no, what I'm
right.
saying is it got lost in translation. Like they didn't understand each other. You know what I'm saying? Like the original title of this episode was going to be Lost in Translation, but isn't
it ironic? Isn't it ironic how there is Lost in Translation with two of the most prolific
orators,
writers.
very audible people, very audible people
of all people,
and well spoken, and even with them, they got lost in translation. So, Scam, leave us with a solution here, man.
Solution: become a better listener. Put your sledgehammers down. Put your boxing gloves down. A woman's coming to tell you something. Hey, I'm thinking about this. Whoa, but I feel like that. No, just that's not.
You can stop it.
I need change for it. Oh, but no, she's trying to tell you.
You muted, brother.
How did I get muted? I don't know. Yeah. Was I muted the whole time I was talking?
No, not the whole time.
Oh, yeah. When talking, you should probably be listening. Then probably ask a couple questions. Then you fully understand. Now you can start doing the talking. But she say something and you swing back. But why did no? That's just. But anyway, men should be working instead of just go get the bag and beat her over the head with a briefcase full of cash. That's not going to solve anything. Now you're just going to get more money and took in child support and other talking point mafias. Be better listeners. Be better communicators. Go to the gym, lose some weight and some other kind of stuff. But there are problems that you already know what they are. Just make a decision that you're going to work on them. If women aren't listening or people don't listen to what you got to say, you probably have a communication problem or a delivery problem. Work on a damn problem. The world is not going to change for you. It's not all them women's out here. The men's is no, they are who they are. Or you got a selection problem. You're talking to some Wigosauruses, or you're talking to Raw Dog Ronnie. No, just no. That's all I got.
All right, thank you very much.
Just no. That's the answer.
Just no. That's his answer. What's my man's name? Josh? Yusuf. Yep. Yeah, that's right. My bad. Jesus.
Yes.
Josh.
That's another one who it's a situation, Shu.
Oh.
It's a situation. Anyway, Yusuf, thank you for coming. Thank you for joining us one more time.
Yeah, thank you for coming out.
Yeah, what are your final thoughts, sir?
I like what the last man said. He said just listen. And listening it piggybacks off what Nikki, that's her name. When she spoke about presence. Presence is listening. To be present, you have to listen. And that's something that, because he's such a thinker, and a lot of men are, we tend to be up in our head a lot. You know, I can tell his gears were spinning as she's talking. He wasn't listening. He wasn't present. So she's telling him what she needs from him. But it's like, how do you tell someone how to be present? It's like, you can say listen. It's like, well, how do you tell someone how to listen? Okay, well, I don't know. That goes beyond the scope of what my capabilities are to be able to demonstrate what listening actually means. Because now I'm having to teach you how to do something that you should have learned long ago. But to James's credit, he said that these are issues his own father had. So naturally, he adopted similar issues. I mean, it carries on for generations and typically for life. And these are habits that are very difficult to break. So when women say they want presence, it comes down to listening. And when it comes down to having actual solutions, well, the solution to me is simple, but it's also difficult. You have to have an action plan. And that's the only way you can solve the problem. So you can demonstrate the problem, which is what she did. You can say what the solution is, which is what she didn't do, but which is what we did. Okay, well, listen, be present. Okay, got it. But then the actual work of being present, the actual work of learning how to listen, the actual work of knowing how to do these things that solves the problem, that's the real work. So, and there's no way around it. And like Mandrell said, when we have the ability to opt out of the situation and decide to just throw our hands up in the air and walk away because we're not put in that pressure cooker like we used to back in the 50s and 60s, We were forced to march together. We were forced to stand together. Now we're not forced to do it. So in many ways, what we fought for, the very freedom we fought for, we become in bondage too. It's crazy. Well, we want freedom. We want to be able to integrate and all this other stuff. We got that. Now we have so much freedom. Now we don't even need to be together. We don't need to communicate. So when you don't need to do it, what is the point of having, there's no incentive to even have an action plan to solve the problem. So you can tell me all your problems all you want to. Tell me till you're blue in the face. But because I don't have to listen to you, that's the reason why you have 40, 50 years since that conversation. And people are still asking the same question and still saying the same things. So what is the solution? There is no solution.
All right. Thank you very much, Yusuf.
Thank you.
All right, Shu. What do you think? What are your thoughts? I mean, because like I said, the entire point of this conversation, of this show tonight, was to continue from last week to get people to think proactively about solutions. In other words, solutions based. Right. Yeah. Because people don't by default. Not one person on YouTube. Like, think about last week. I repeated myself several times. The first thing everyone did last week was come up here and say it can't be done. Automatically negative. Automatically defeated themselves, and that wasn't even the point of the episode. Mm-hmm. It's about getting people to think solutions based. What do you think tonight?
The biggest thing is, as far as relationships, like communication is the biggest thing, and I just think we collectively, men and women, need to work on being better communicators, also being better listeners. But something else that stood out to me too, and it just as you was talking, it came to me like, we are creatures of habit, and a lot of the issues that we have, and the reason why we believe that it can't be done, is because we're caught in just some very bad, toxic habits. And in order to break a habit, you have to put in effort and put in work to change that habit. And it's not easy breaking habits, or breaking, actual actions and things that you're used to doing. You have to put in like an active, conscious effort to change that behavior. But it's a lot easier and it's a lot more comfortable just to keep going and doing what you've been doing, which is what a lot of people just succumb to. It's just like, well, whatever. I've been doing it like this, or I'll get it together eventually. All right, eventually. And then eventually it just never happens. So I just think that, number one, we need to work on communicating better. 2, work on active listening, and work on changing some habits. That's our biggest problem. We've just caught up in a lot of bad habits.
And it's to the point where people don't even realize they're doing anything wrong. They think they're right, but they're so used to doing something or operating in a different way that anything other than that feels super uncomfortable, and they don't like it. Right. So their brain automatically interprets it as wrong. Mm-hmm. This is the wrong way. It's too uncomfortable. Right. It's not supposed to be like this. Hold up, Right. It's their perception of change. I'm not saying perspective, because when people say, I want to hear your perspective, they're talking about their perception, a person's perception. Or it's another word people misuse all the time. My truth. That doesn't exist. Yeah, that doesn't exist. I wish people would just take that out of the vocabulary. It messes so many things up. There's no such thing as your truth. Well, you can have your own truth. You just can't have your own facts. That's true. You know what I'm saying? I mean, so if a guy is sitting there telling you, okay, I might be willing to go with this, but it has to make sense. You know what I'm saying? Like James Baldwin's telling her. And then she's telling him, listen, okay, I need you to be present. She didn't say it that way. I think because at the time, Nikki Giovanni was only 28 years old.
Yeah, she looks super
young. At that time, she was only 28 years old. So TJ Randolph came up here on the panel tonight and interpreted what she meant. Right. And that's where it is. It's in the meaning. It's in the nature of what's talking about of a thing. Right. You know what I'm saying? It's in the context, which a lot of people don't look at nor factor in, which makes them horrible communicators, both men and women. Mm-hmm. So that's something I've gotten really good at nowadays. because I practice it all the time. Right. I practice it. Yeah, changing my habits from where I used to be. Yeah, I've changed a lot. I have. I'm giving myself a pat on the back for that because a lot of effort went into it. Tons of effort every day. So, and it's not going to stop. I like the person I'm becoming. But yeah, I've been spending a lot of time with veterans. I went to the gun range, a tactical gun range this weekend.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Me and a few other veterans did some shooting, did some drills, like clearing houses, stuff like that. Stuff we used to do in real life in the military. Mm-hmm. Felt right at home.
Nice.
It was honest. Yeah.
Nice.
Good group of guys. Anyway, yeah, my final thoughts, and then we're gonna go, people, are when you find yourself in an impasse like they did, pay attention to the conversation. Because my sister's right, communication is key, it is king. And you first meet someone, your first 2 years is gonna be just that, learning each other, learning how to communicate, speak each other's language. If you leave before that, you didn't try. You didn't forget about it. Yeah. It's the honest. If you leave before 2 years, you're not trying.
Yeah.
So, yeah, listen to each other, pay attention. Try your best to learn how to communicate with that person. And think solution-based. Think of how you can fix this before you think of like, well, I can't do this. Ask yourself, how can I do it? And that's where I'm going to lay my plane. And you guys have a good night. See you next week.
Go. Fire by night and a pillar of vapor by day. Walk through the desert, but when you admire the light, see the villains are paper mache. I'm on the way to the promised land, no contraband. I'm an honest man, I'm coming. Have y'all met me? I'm set free, playing my part like the Red Sea. Man, I'm from heaven, I'm here with my brethren. The volume's 11.